Chapter 1433. The 3/8 Tribulation Emperor Gu joined forces and attacked Chu Fengmian at the same time. Violent power filled the entire sky, shattering the space around Chu Fengmian. The 3/8 Tribulation Emperor Gu used their respective killer move. They were vicious and contained great murderous intent. They wanted to kill Chu Fengmian on the spot today. "Junior brother, let me help you." Qing Meng saw the 3 Emperor Gu attacking from the side. A ray of green light condensed in the palm of her hand. She took a step forward and rushed in. "No need, senior sister. Go to the Sword Comprehension Hall and the Thousand Dragon Hall and destroy them completely. Since they dare to go against our Holy Dragon sect today, there's no need for these 2 halls to exist," Chu Fengmian suddenly said to Qing Meng. As he spoke, he took a step forward. Facing the 3 killer moves, Chu Fengmian had no intention of retreating. Instead, he took a step forward and faced them head-on. "Just the 3 of them. I alone am enough." Ancient Dragon Emperor Body. Power of the Tree of God. Flesh and blood crystal. Condense. Rumble. Waves of power burst out from Chu Fengmian's body and shrouded him. 129,600 flesh and blood crystals flew out at the same time, supporting the power of the Tree of God and the power of the ancient Dragon Emperor Body. It turned into a flawless barrier, forcibly blocking the power of the 3 killer move. The 3 killer moves bombarded Chu Fengmian's body and set off continuous tremors. The power was extremely terrifying. However, no matter how powerful the attacks were, they were all neutralized when they hit Chu Fengmian's body. The 129,600 blood and flesh crystals formed a single entity, which was enough to withstand any kind of power. What kind of body is this? How is it possible to resist the attacks of 3/8 Tribulation Emperor Gu with just his body? Impossible. Even a body cultivator who painstakingly cultivates the Tao of body refinement can't do this. What kind of body is this? Look, this person's body isn't made of flesh and blood. It's made of crystals. What kind of body refinement technique is this? This is simply unheard of, unprecedented. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw Chu Fengmian's unscathed body after withstanding countless bombardments. It took a long time for them to recover from their shock. The joint attack of the 3 Emperor Gu was an absolute killer move. Even an 8 Tribulation Emperor Gu would find it hard to resist. What's more, using his physical body to block it. Even the legendary Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations, or even a half-step celestial being, would not be able to do this. "Senior sister, I alone am enough. Go and destroy the Sword Comprehension Hall and the 10,000 Dragon Hall. Let them know the consequences of opposing our Holy Dragon sect." Chu Fengmian used his undying true body to dissolve all the attacks and shouted at Qing Meng. Hearing those words, the crowd burst into an uproar. Today, Chu Fengmian had already trampled on the Law Enforcement Hall, one of the 8 halls. Yet he was still not satisfied and wanted to continue? The Sword Comprehension Hall and the 10,000 Dragon Hall were ranked higher than the Law Enforcement Hall in the Secret Realm. The destruction of the Law Enforcement Hall was the biggest event since the establishment of the Holy Dragon Secret Realm several 100,000 years ago. The destruction of a hall was unprecedented. Today, Chu Fengmian had done the same and thought that he would stop after destroying the Law Enforcement Hall. Who would have thought that Chu Fengmian would go even further and destroy the Sword Comprehension Hall and the 10,000 Dragon Hall as well? Crazy, this brat must be crazy. Too scary. Does he want to break through the heavens today? This was the first time such a huge commotion had occurred in the Secret Realm since its establishment. All of this was because of a mere disciple. "You dare, evil creature!" The myriad dragons king and the Law Enforcement Hall master were aghast as they shouted in unison. They didn't care about Chu Fengmian's previous words. They only thought that he was boasting. A quasi-emperor against 3/8 Tribulation true emperors? This was simply like a fantasy story. However, after seeing Chu Fengmian's physical body, their thoughts changed. Chu Fengmian alone was enough to stall them. Why wouldn't I dare? Do you think destroying the law enforcement hall is my limit? I'll destroy anyone who dares to oppose me today. Myriad Dragon Hall, Sword Comprehension Hall, just wait to be buried with you. Chu Fengmian's arrogant words came out of his mouth. One of the 8 halls was destroyed just like that. This was simply the words of a madman. However, no one dared to doubt Chu Fengmian this time. The last hall that doubted Chu Fengmian's words was destroyed by him. They didn't doubt that Qing Meng would dare to destroy these 2 halls. Everything that Chu Fengmian did, Qing Meng did not stop him. This already proved Qing Meng's character. Very well. Qing Meng didn't hesitate after hearing Chu Fengmian. She turned into a ray and flew towards the Sword Comprehension Hall. Among the 8 halls, only the Hall Lords were 8 Tribulation True Emperors. The rest were all 7 Tribulation True Emperors. Even 7 Tribulation True Emperors wouldn't be a match for a peak 8 Tribulation True Emperor like Qing Meng. Now that Sword Comprehension Hall's Hall Master and Emperor of 10,000 Dragons were fighting with Chu Fengmian, no one could stop her from destroying these 2 halls. Qing Meng, stop! The Hall Master was aghast after seeing Qing Meng's departure. He had thought that they would be able to defeat Chu Fengmian in an instant with the combined strength of the 3 8 Tribulation Ancient Emperors. He didn't expect Chu Fengmian to be hiding something. His physical body alone was extremely difficult to deal with. Given Qing Meng's speed, it wouldn't take long for the hall to turn into ruins like the Law Enforcement Hall. Sword Patrol. Whoosh! The Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall slashed out with her sword, which turned into a beam of sword light. She slashed towards Qing Meng in an attempt to stop her. However, as his sword light approached Chu Fengmian, a battle dragon claw descended from the sky and shattered the sword light. Didn't the 3 of you plan to kill me? Today I want to see if you can kill me faster, or if you can destroy these 2 great halls faster. Chu Fengmian blocked the sword light and sneered as he looked at the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall. Brat, are you crazy today? If you do this, there's no turning back. Not only you, but the entire Holy Dragon sect has no way out. Chapter 1434. Retreat? I have no intention of retreating today. Chu Fengmian looked at the 3/8 Tribulation Emperor Gu as if he was looking at dead men. Today you will die too. You are doomed to die the moment you dared to make an enemy of the Holy Dragon sect. Kill. Kill this brat and all our troubles will be solved. He looked at the embarrassed Emperor Wan Long and the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall. Great Elder He Chen shouted loudly. This brat's power is still suppressed by the gate of Dharma and Logos. It's just that his body is strong. Take advantage of this opportunity to kill him. The more Great Elder He Chen witnessed Chu Fengmian's strength, the more he wanted to kill him. Suddenly, countless black dust condensed in his palm and turned into a stone tablet. He threw it directly at Chu Fengmian. This stone tablet was the main body of the black dust. The moment it condensed, its power suddenly increased countless times. Clearly, Great Elder He Chen was not holding back any of his strength. The stone tablet fell from Great Elder He Chen's palm. The power it generated was no less than the power of a falling star. An enormous pressure shrouded Chu Fengmian. Kill. Emperor Wan Long and the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall had a look of determination in their eyes. The strength that Chu Fengmian had displayed today was so terrifying that they had already made up their minds. They would kill Chu Fengmian even if they had to enter the Thousand Dragon Hall and risk the destruction of the Sword Comprehension Hall. Countless ferocious swordsmanship of the Dragon clan suddenly shrouded Chu Fengmian's body. Together with the power of a stone tablet, they bombarded Chu Fengmian's body. Do you think I am suppressed by the gate of Dharma and Logos? In fact, I am just luring you out. Faced with the bombardment of countless martial techniques, Chu Fengmian's eyes suddenly revealed a cold smile. While the gate of Dharma and Logos was being refined by the sky-devouring secret technique, the imprint left on it suddenly shattered. A sword shadow was inserted into the gate of Dharma and Logos and was immediately refined by Chu Fengmian. The gate of Dharma and Logos. Suppress everything. Whoosh. The gate of Dharma and Logos was refined by Chu Fengmian. It immediately fell into Chu Fengmian's palm. Then, Chu Fengmian injected spiritual power into it, and it suddenly became incomparably huge. It was at least 10,000 feet in size. This was the true form of the gate of Dharma and Logos. The people of the Law Enforcement Hall were not qualified to activate the true form of the gate of Dharma and Logos. In this state, the gate of Dharma and Logos consumed a large amount of spiritual energy at every moment. Even the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu could not bear it. However, Chu Fengmian had the divine pulse, so he was not worried at all. He activated the gate of Dharma and Logos without any scruples, unleashing the maximum power of the gate of Dharma and Logos. Rumble! The gate of Dharma and Logos descended. Under this power, all killing moves, sword techniques, and Dragon Clan martial arts were immediately shattered. Even the steel was knocked flying by the impact. Today, the 3 of you will die here. The ancient bronze door. Come out. Boom. Another ray of light flashed from Chu Fengmian's body, and another ancient bronze gate slowly appeared. The power of this ancient bronze door was in no way inferior to that of the door of Dharma and Logos. Bless me. Whoosh. The 2 ancient gates flew to Chu Fengmian's back at the same time, providing him with a steady stream of power. Right now, Chu Fengmian's body was protected by these 2 ancient gates. No attack could break through Chu Fengmian's invincible defense. At the same time, the swords in Chu Fengmian's hands moved. The 2 swords came out together, forming a sword ray that was tens of thousands of feet long. The power of this sword slashed toward Great Elder Heichen and the other 2. The first to bear the brunt of this sword was Great Elder Heichen. Great Elder Heichen's face was no longer as confident and arrogant as before. He had originally calculated that Chu Fengmian would have to divide part of his power to suppress the gate of Dharma and Logos while refining it. With the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu joining forces, Chu Fengmian would undoubtedly die today, no matter how strong he was. However, when he saw Chu Fengmian refining the gate of Dharma and Logos, he understood that this was a trap to lure them out. Now that the 3 of them had appeared, it was time for Chu Fengmian to draw in the net. Kill. So what if he has refined the gate of Dharma and Logos? He doesn't have the power to continue activating it. Don't be afraid. Let's see how long his spiritual power can last. Great Elder Heichen roared. Now, it was impossible for them to retreat even if they wanted to. They might as well continue fighting. Although he had never come into contact with the gate of Dharma and Logos, it was rumored that a large amount of spiritual power was required to activate the gate of Dharma and Logos. For example, in the Law Enforcement Hall, countless Law Enforcement Hall disciples and several Supreme Elders were not enough to activate the gate of Dharma and Logos continuously. Now that Chu Fengmian was activating it alone, he certainly could not maintain it for long. When he thought of this, a pitch-black figure appeared behind Great Elder Heichen. This pitch-black figure was very similar to Great Elder Heichen's power, but it was much more ancient. It seemed to be a powerhouse from his clan. As soon as the pitch-black figure appeared, Great Elder Heichen used the stone steel to smash at the swordlight. You're just a puny quasi-emperor. I don't believe that you can be so powerful. Great Elder Heichen roared loudly. His tone was incomparably crazy and unreconciled. He was the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu, the Great Elder of 6 Ultimates sect. It should be easy for him to deal with a puny quasi-emperor, but now his attacks were being neutralized by Chu Fengmian again and again. He was at a disadvantage in the battle with Chu Fengmian, which made him go crazy. A mayfly trying to shake a tree. You're too weak. Chu Fengmian sneered. The sword ray suddenly slashed toward Great Elder He Chen's body. The stone tablet in his palm was shattered under the collision of the two forces, turning into black dust. Then, Chu Fengmian waved his hand and all the black dust was forcibly plundered into his palm. Back in the Nine Mystic Celestial Venerates cave, Chu Fengmian had gone through many life and death battles with the Eight Tribulations Emperor Gu. In addition, Chu Fengmian had killed countless experts of the Law Enforcement Hall and devoured their blood essence, which was refined by the Divine Tree. Now, Chu Fengmian's power was even stronger than when he was in the Nine Mystic Celestial Venerates cave. At that time, Chu Fengmian was strong enough to kill Emperor Gu. Now, with the support of the Gate of Dharma and Logos, killing the Eight Tribulations Emperor Gu would be a piece of cake for Chu Fengmian. Great Elder He Chen turned pale with fright when the stone tablet in his hand was snatched away. He hurriedly condensed his spiritual energy to resist the power of the sword ray. Chapter 1435. Door of Dharma and Logos. Archaic bronze door. Crush them together. Chu Fengmian let out a long roar, and the two ancient doors behind him erupted with power at the same time. They turned into two beams of divine light and bombarded Great Elder He Chen. The spiritual power condensed in front of Great Elder He Chen was smashed by the two beams of divine light. At the same time, tens of thousands of sword rays followed. Boom! Great Elder He Chen's body was torn to pieces by the power of the tens of thousands of sword rays. His blood stained the sky and turned into a bloody mist. Countless disciples of the sacred dragon mystery dimension stared blankly at the unbelievable scene in the sky. An Eight Tribulation ancient emperor. This was Great Elder He Chen, an elder of the Six Ultimate sect. How could he be defeated by Chu Fengmian with a single strike? This scene was even more shocking than the scene of Chu Fengmian killing the Law Enforcement Hall Master. Great Elder He Chen was defeated in the blink of an eye. How could an Eight Tribulations Emperor Gu be so weak in the hands of Chu Fengmian? Was Great Elder He Chen not strong enough? As an elder of the four sects, he was much stronger than the 8 Hall Masters, but he still could not escape the fate of being defeated by Chu Fengmian. Evil creature, you can't kill me. I'm immortal. No one can kill me. Great Elder He Chen's angry voice was heard in the bloody mist. The bloody mist immediately condensed in the air and turned into the figure of Great Elder He Chen. As a peak figure of the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu, Great Elder He Chen's vitality was unbelievably strong. In particular, Emperor Gu, who was at the peak of the 8 Tribulations, had his flesh and blood upgraded to a new level. As long as he was not killed by a single blow, he could reconstruct his body. Is that so? Immortal? There's no one in the world that I, Chu Fengmian, can't kill. Chu Fengmian looked at Great Elder He Chen and smiled indifferently. Devouring heaven. Boom. The sky-devouring mystic technique suddenly appeared behind Great Elder Black Dust. Before Great Elder Black Dust could react, his body was pulled into the sky-devouring mystic technique. When is this? Great Elder He Chen didn't even notice the appearance of the sky-devouring secret technique. By the time he reacted, his body had already completely fallen into the sky-devouring secret technique. In this incomparably dark vortex, his body was firmly pulled in, and he could no longer break free. Die! Chu Fengmian pointed the tip of his sword and a stream of sword qi entered the sky-devouring secret technique. Great Elder He Chen's body shattered and turned into a bloody mist. However, this time around, before the crimson mist could condense, it was mercilessly devoured by the heaven-devouring secret technique. All of his essence and blood fell into Chu Fengmian's body and became nourishment for the divine tree. Great Elder He Chen's essence blood is even stronger than that of the blood god Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian could sense that the divine tree had become extremely excited after devouring Great Elder Black Dust's essence blood. It was thirsting for more essence blood. And the two of you die. Chu Fengmian looked at Emperor 10,000 Dragons and the Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall. The moment they saw his gaze, their bodies trembled. "Let's go." The two of them looked at each other and turned to flee without hesitation. When they saw great Elder He Chen die at Chu Fengmian's hands, the two of them no longer had the courage to continue fighting Chu Fengmian. "You want to escape? Suppress. Suppress them all," Chu Fengmian sneered. The two ancient portals behind him flew out at the same time, one for each of them, and immediately suppressed them. The Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall and Emperor 10,000 Dragons didn't have time to activate their escape lights and were suppressed in place. In the face of these two ancient portals, it was difficult to activate even their spiritual power. "Chu Fengmian, you've already killed many people today. Let us go. Let us go and we can plead with the higher-ups on your behalf. We can resolve today's matter." The Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall, who was suppressed by the door of jurisprudence, suddenly changed her attitude and hurriedly said to Chu Fengmian, "You won't gain anything by killing us. Today's matter was instigated by Great Elder He Chen and led us astray. After today, we will no longer be enemies with you and the Holy Dragon sect." "That's right, Chu Fengmian. Both of us are 8 Hall Masters and have some status in the Holy Dragon secret realm. We can speak on your behalf and resolve today's matter." Emperor 10,000 Dragons, who was suppressed by the archaic bronze door, hurriedly responded when he heard the Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall. "Today you've already caused a great disaster. We can plead on your behalf." As the two of them conversed, their eyes flashed with ferocity. Today, begging for mercy in front of so many people was an unbearable humiliation for them as 8 Tribulation Emperor Gu. However, Chu Fengmian was too powerful today and they could only retreat. As long as they could survive today, they must teach Chu Fengmian a lesson. "Plead? I, Chu Fengmian, don't need you two good-for-nothings to plead for me. I'd like to see who dares to judge me." Chu Fengmian laughed. Chu Fengmian could see through the two of them at a glance. They still wanted to come back and seek revenge from Chu Fengmian? Today, Chu Fengmian would kill both of them. "Die." Chu Fengmian pointed his 2 spiritual swords at one of them. Sword chi filled the air above the sword. "Chu Fengmian, do you really dare to kill us? I'm the 8 Hall Master." The Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall roared when he heard that Chu Fengmian was unmoved. "Noisy!" Chu Fengmian shouted coldly. 8 Hall Masters, I've already killed one. I don't mind killing 2 more. Both of you shall die." In an instant, 2 rays of sword chi slashed out and slashed towards the two of them. "Stop. Junior, I see that you're out of control. You even dare to kill the 8 Hall Masters? Today, even if you're a disciple of the Holy Dragon sect, you don't have the right to do so. Stop it right now. How dare you? How dare you? You have to be severely punished." Suddenly, a dignified voice descended from the sky. At the same time, 2 incomparably huge arms descended from the sky and grabbed at the Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall and Emperor of Dragons. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but frown when he heard the voice. This person's aura was much stronger than that of Great Elder He Chen and Emperor Gu of the Blood God. This kind of power was no longer that of the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. It could only be that of the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Legend had it that only the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, who was close to the half-step celestial being realm, possessed this kind of power. The real big shot of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension had made his move. A big shot like the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu usually cultivated in seclusion and didn't care about worldly affairs. Today, Chu Fengmian had caused such a big scene that even such a big shot was awakened. Chapter 1436. They are not friendly. Chu Fengmian frowned. Even the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu was alarmed by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian could disregard the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. However, the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu was at least 10 times more powerful than the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Even the weakest 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu could easily kill someone like Emperor Wan Long. This was Chu Fengmian's first time facing the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. This is the previous hall master of our Thousand Dragons Hall, Emperor Wan Long. When Emperor Myriad Dragons heard this voice, his face lit up with joy, and he shouted in joy. Emperor Wan Long. Hearing the Myriad Dragons Emperor shout out this name, the spectators finally understood who this person was. The previous hall master of the Thousand Dragons Hall became the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu and was promoted to the upper echelons of the Sacred Dragon Secret Dimension. His legend had been passed down from thousands of years ago. He had a high status and was even more prominent than the 8 hall masters and the great elders of the 4 sections. Lord 10,000 Dragon Emperor, please take action and suppress this brat. This brat is already lawless. Not only did he destroy the Law Enforcement Hall, he even killed the Law Enforcement Hall's Hall Master and Great Elder Heichen. He is already a devil. This brat must not be allowed to live. The Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall looked into the sky and shouted. What? Emperor Wan Long's eyes turned cold when he heard this. He only rushed over because he felt that Emperor Wan Long and the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall were under threat. Upon hearing these words, his cold gaze swept over and coincidentally saw that the Law Enforcement Hall had already turned into a pile of rubble. The Law Enforcement Hall was now in ruins. Countless palaces had collapsed and the 9 spiritual springs had been uprooted by Chu Fengmian. It was impossible to rebuild it. Vile spawn. Emperor Wan Long looked at Chu Fengmian with murderous intent and cursed. Emperor Wan Long, Qing Meng of the Holy Dragon Sect, is attacking our Thousand Dragons Hall. The Myriad Dragons Emperor suddenly thought of something and shouted loudly. What? He dares to attack the Thousand Dragons Hall? Emperor Wan Long was furious when he heard this. He was the previous hall master of the Thousand Dragons Hall. It could be said that he had cultivated the Thousand Dragons Hall. Suddenly, the eyes of the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons spun as an image appeared in his golden pupils. The Thousand Dragons Hall was filled with blood and the corpses of the Thousand Dragons Hall disciples were everywhere. At the same time, a figure holding green light was chasing after the Thousand Dragons Hall's disciples. The current state of the 10,000 Dragon Hall was no better than that of the Law Enforcement Hall. The Sword Comprehension Hall was also in ruins. It was in ruins in the Sword Comprehension Hall. Seeing this scene, the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons was infuriated. He was so angry that he wanted to kill himself. Vile spawn. All vile spawn. Each 1,000 is. I've long said that the Holy Dragon Sect doesn't deserve to exist in the Holy Dragon Secret Plane. Emperor Gu is. You must pay the price for provoking the Holy Dragon Sect. Arrogant. He was too arrogant. Vile spawn, kneel down. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Emperor of 10,000 Dragons could no longer hold back his anger. He roared and slammed a dragon claw at Chu Fengmian. When this dragon claw was activated, it was already extremely similar to the primordial heavenly dragon's dragon claw. At the very least, it already possessed 80% of its power. The dragon claw came crashing down on Chu Fengmian from all directions. The Emperor Wan Long's attack was 10 times stronger than the Emperor Wan Long's. Although there was only a difference of 1 realm, the difference in power was like heaven and earth. Around the dragon claw, the dragons roared and gathered all their power into the dragon claw. The power of the dragon claw was extremely sharp. Power of the door, strengthen my body! Chu Fengmian roared. The door of Dharma and Logos flew back to Chu Fengmian from the Sword Comprehension Hall Master and Emperor Wan Long's body. Facing Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations, Chu Fengmian did not dare to use any of his power. He had to fight with his full strength. Chu Fengmian's ancient battle dragon bloodline power was activated to the extreme. At the same time, he activated Tianlong's bloodline power and gathered it in his palm. Go! Rumble! Chu Fengmian attacked with his palm. It turned into a dragon claw in the air and clashed with the Emperor Wanlong's dragon claw. Primogenitor's first form. Boom! The power of the two dragon claws collided in the air. Even the Emperor Wanlong, Sword Comprehension Hall Master, and Emperor Gu of the Eight Tribulations retreated hastily for fear of being caught in the crossfire. The Law Enforcement Hall's mountain was right under these two forces. Under these two forces, it instantly collapsed. The entire mountain instantly crumbled. Bam! A figure retreated from the center of the force. It was Chu Fengmian. What a terrifying force! Is this Emperor Gu of the Nine Tribulations? The strength of the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons was stronger than any of the experts Chu Fengmian had fought before. With just one move, Chu Fengmian was actually at a disadvantage. Chu Fengmian's body was supported by the power of two ancient portals. His strength was still far from the Emperor Wanlong's. Fortunately, the Emperor Wanlong used the Dragon Clan martial technique. Chu Fengmian's attainment in the Dragon Clan martial technique was superior to the Emperor Wanlong's. After all, Chu Fengmian was someone who had comprehended the 9 forms of progenitor. In this aspect, Chu Fengmian held a slight advantage. Otherwise, he would have been gravely injured even if he didn't die. My strength is far from being able to compete with Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations. Chu Fengmian instantly understood his strength. Even if Chu Fengmian had the ability to kill Emperor Gu of the 8 Tribulations, he was still far from the 9 Tribulations' Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations. Moreover, Chu Fengmian could see that the Emperor Wanlong was only average among the 9 Tribulations' Emperor Gu. He was far from reaching the half-step celestial realm. It seemed that unless Chu Fengmian stepped into the Emperor realm, it would be difficult for him to compete with the 9 Tribulations' Emperor Gu. While Chu Fengmian was thinking, the Emperor Wanlong was also replaying the scene of the battle in his mind. In an instant, he had replayed it dozens of times in his mind. The 9 moves of primogenitor. This is definitely the 9 moves of primogenitor. During the battle, the Emperor Wanlong also noticed that the Dragon Clan martial technique that Chu Fengmian used was more profound than his own. The Emperor Wanlong was someone who could be called the Dragon Emperor. His strength was unbelievably strong. In terms of the comprehension of the Dragon Clan martial technique, he was close to the peak. Chapter 1437. Little brat, hand over the secret of the 9 moves of the ancestor and I'll let you die a quick death. The Emperor of 1,000 Dragons stared at Chu Fengmian and said. The 9 moves of the ancestor had always been the dream of countless experts from the dragon tribe. Many experts from the dragon tribe who possessed the bloodline of the ancestor Tianlong might not be able to comprehend the 9 moves of the ancestor. In order to comprehend the 9 moves of the ancestor, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons had even obtained the blood essence of the ancestor Tianlong and possessed the bloodline of the ancestor Tianlong. However, he had been studying in front of the ancestor statue for dozens of years and could only give up in the end. Now, Chu Fengmian was just a little brat in the Boundary Emperor realm, and he had actually executed the 9 moves of the ancestor. This made the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons both shocked and angry. His heart was filled with jealousy and anger. What 9 moves of the ancestor? Chu Fengmian heard the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons' words and said disapprovingly, "If you want to kill me, just do it. There's no need to find so many excuses." While speaking, Chu Fengmian was also observing his surroundings. If he continued to fight with the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons today, he would definitely lose. Qingmeng had already destroyed the 1,000 Dragons Hall and Sword Comprehension Hall and returned to the Holy Dragon Sect. Now, as long as Chu Fengmian escaped and returned to the Holy Dragon Sect, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons would not dare to attack the Holy Dragon Sect. With the Holy Dragon Sect's restrictions, there would be no danger for the time being. However, how could he escape and return to the Holy Dragon Sect today? Little brat, you don't have to play dumb here. You must have used the 9 moves of the ancestor. The Emperor of 1,000 Dragons sneered when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. It doesn't matter whether you admit it or not. Once I kill you and refine your memories, everything will be clear. 1,000 Dragons seal. Dragon cage. Swoosh. Beside the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons, waves of spiritual energy burst out and turned into huge Tianlong dragons in the air. These Tianlong dragons surrounded Chu Fengmian and turned into a huge cage, trapping Chu Fengmian within. Damn it! Do I have to use the Emperor Jar? Chu Fengmian's expression changed. He seemed to be hesitating. The only way to break the seal of the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons in an instant was to use the Emperor's Jar. However, once the Emperor Jar was exposed, Chu Fengmian would be in even more trouble in the future. This was an extreme Dao immortal weapon. Chu Fengmian had learned that even in the sacred dragon secret realm, there wasn't a single extreme Dao celestial weapon. In fact, in the entire Daluo star field, there wasn't a single force that possessed an extreme Dao celestial weapon. Even if the mortal Emperor Jar was only a damaged extreme-grade immortal artifact, it was still a priceless treasure to the Holy Dragon mystic realm. Let's fight. As long as there's life, there's hope. At worst, I can just escape. With my current strength, there aren't many people in the Daluo star field that can deal with me. A ferocious glint flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. At most, he would just leave the Holy Dragon mystery realm. With Chu Fengmian's strength, there might not be anyone who could catch him. Just as Chu Fengmian began to summon the Emperor Jar, all of a sudden, the jade talisman on Chu Fengmian's chest lit up. Within this jade talisman, a figure appeared. This figure waved his hand, and all the heavenly dragons in the sky were destroyed. This is... Chu Fengmian was shocked. When he saw the jade talisman, he suddenly understood what kind of power it was. This jade talisman was the one that Luo Kong had given to Chu Fengmian. It was personally refined by the eldest senior brother of the Holy Dragon sect and belonged to Yun Zun's power. Eldest senior brother. Chu Fengmian reacted and slowly spoke. Little junior brother, well done. The Holy Dragon sect has never allowed anyone to provoke us. Yun Zun's figure glanced at Chu Fengmian and praised him. How dare you provoke the Holy Dragon sect? Only destruction awaits you. Although it was a figure condensed by spiritual power, it was enough to let people hear the murderous intent in Yun Zun's words. The Emperor of 1,000 Dragons' expression changed completely as a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Yun Zun, what is the meaning of this? Don't you intend to give the higher-ups an explanation? This kid destroyed the law enforcement hall and killed countless people. How dare you praise such a demon? Although the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons' words were extremely fierce, his tone was much gentler and not as aggressive as before. When he faced Chu Fengmian, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons acted like a high and mighty big shot. He had never taken Chu Fengmian seriously and could trample on him as he wished. However, he didn't dare do that in front of Yun Zun. He could only address him as an equal. Chu Fengmian sighed when he saw this scene. Although eldest senior brother Yun Zun had disappeared for a long time, his spiritual power still couldn't be underestimated. He only has himself to blame for destroying the law enforcement hall. Law enforcement hall? Humph. He almost killed the disciples of the Holy Dragon sect. I will remember this grudge. Even if Chu Fengmian didn't destroy the law enforcement hall, I will still destroy it when I return. Yun Zun snorted coldly. His tone was extremely overbearing. However, no one dared to question Yun Zun's words after hearing this. Given Yun Zun's character, he didn't care about the 8 halls at all. He could even look down on the higher-ups of the Holy Dragon secret realm and ignore them. Yun Zun, you've gone too far. Today, not only the Law Enforcement Hall, but even the Sword Comprehension Hall and the 1,000 Dragons Hall have suffered heavy losses. Shouldn't you give us an explanation? Whoosh! A figure suddenly descended from the sky. This figure was like a sword light. The moment it approached, a murderous aura shrouded Chu Fengmian. Obviously, he was extremely angry at Chu Fengmian. Emperor Gu Luo Jian, the previous hall master of the law enforcement hall. When they saw this person arrive, everyone could see why he was so angry. Today, not only the law enforcement hall, but the Thousand Dragons Hall and the Sword Comprehension Hall had also suffered heavy losses. Although they weren't completely destroyed like the Law Enforcement Hall, many disciples had been killed by Chu Fengmian. However, a large number of disciples had been killed by Qing Meng. Even a few supreme elders had died in Qing Meng's hands. Without a few thousand years, it would be difficult for them to recover from this. As the previous hall master of the Law Enforcement Hall, Emperor Gu was naturally infuriated by this outcome. Explanation? What explanation? Yun Zun said coldly when he heard Emperor Gu's words. At the very least, we must make this brat hand over his fortuitous encounter as compensation. Emperor Gu stared at Chu Fengmian and said coldly, "Make him hand over the Supreme Sword Qi and give it to the Sword Comprehension Hall as compensation." That's right. He must also hand over the 9 moves of the Ancestor. Take it as compensation to the Thousand Dragons Hall. Emperor Gu took the opportunity to say coldly. Chapter 1438. Yun Zun, the eldest senior brother of the Holy Dragon sect. The number 1 disciple of the Holy Dragon secret dimension. The number 1 emperor of all times. The most dazzling genius of the Daluo star field. His legend had spread throughout the Daluo star field, and everyone knew about him. It was rumored that Yun Zun's true strength was comparable to the celestial realm. But today, Yun Zun was only a manifestation of the spiritual energy in this jade talisman. No matter how strong Yun Zun was, this jade talisman was no match for 2 Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. Emperor Gu of 10,000 dragons and Emperor Gu of Luo Jian did not intend to completely fall out with the Holy Dragon sect. But today both the 10,000 Dragons Hall and the Law Enforcement Hall had suffered heavy losses. No matter what, they had to get some benefit. Yun Zun, take a step back. If today's matter is not resolved properly, it will be difficult to explain when the higher-ups come out of seclusion in a few months. Emperor Gu of Luo Jian also looked at Yun Zun and said, "So what? Although this is only a clone, I don't care about the 2 of you." Before Emperor Gu of Luo Jian could finish, Yun Zun interrupted coldly. "Take a step back and let Chu Fengmian go. From now on, there will be peace." "Impossible," Emperor Gu of 10,000 dragons and Emperor Gu of Luo Jian said in unison. "This kid must pay the price today. Luo Jian, 10,000 dragons, do the 2 of you really intend to continue bickering with a junior?" Boom. An old voice sounded from the sky. The moment this voice sounded, an enormous power of heaven and earth descended. The power of heaven and earth was not inferior to that of Emperor Gu of Luo Jian and Emperor Gu of 10,000 dragons. It was even enough to suppress them. It's that powerhouse again. Everyone present was about to go crazy. Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations was a powerhouse of this level that would never appear normally. They were all legendary figures. Today they all appeared one after another. The entire Holy Dragon's secret dimension was about to be shaken. As the old voice sounded, 2 figures descended from the sky and came to Chu Fengmian's side. One of them was Qing Meng. Beside Qing Meng was an old man that Chu Fengmian was very familiar with. Chu Fengmian had seen this old man before. He was the old man who guarded the primogenitor's statue. "Long Qianjue, Long, didn't you left the Holy Dragon sect? Why are you still meddling in the affairs of the Holy Dragon sect today?" Ancient Emperor Luo Jian said with a frown when he saw the arrival of this old man. Long Qianjue. Hearing this name, Chu Fengmian immediately understood who this old man was. Brother of Luo Jian, Luo sect. Luo Kong had told Chu Fengmian some things about the Holy Dragon sect. Long Qianjue was originally the eldest senior brother of the Holy Dragon sect and was also the oldest disciple. Later, Yun Zun rose to prominence and fought with Long Qianjue to take over the position of the eldest senior brother. However, Long Qianjue and Yun Zun had made a bet that the loser would leave the Holy Dragon secret dimension. In the end, Long Qianjue left the Holy Dragon sect and never returned. However, Long Qianjue's name was not removed. Instead, his name remained in the Holy Dragon sect until the day he returned. Chu Fengmian did not expect that the guardian of Tianlong's statue was the second senior brother of the Holy Dragon sect, Long Qianjue. Seeing that Qing Meng had returned to the Holy Dragon sect, she must have gone to look for Long Qianjue. Long Qianjue was someone who could fight with Yun Zun. Even though he was defeated by Yun Zun, his strength was still terrifying. Chu Fengmian could sense that Long Qianjue was stronger than the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and Emperor Gu of Luojian. Long Qianjue, I advise you not to interfere in today's matter. If the higher-ups blame you for destroying the 8 halls, you won't be able to handle it. The Emperor of 10,000 Dragons was silent for a moment before he stared at Long Qianjue and said coldly, "Didn't you leave the Holy Dragon sect? Why do you want to get involved in this mess?" "Eldest senior brother, leave this to me." Long Qianjue ignored the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and turned to Yun Zun. "All right." Yun Zun nodded and his voice relaxed. "When I return to the Holy Dragon sect, I will fight with you again." Yun Zun's figure slowly disappeared in front of Chu Fengmian. At the same time, the jade talisman on Chu Fengmian's chest shattered and lost its power. After Yun Zun's figure disappeared, Long Qianjue's gaze turned to the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and Emperor Gu of Luojian. "I, Long Qianjue, am still a disciple of the Holy Dragon sect." Long Qianjue's old eyes glinted fiercely. "As long as I am here today, I will not let the disciples of the Holy Dragon sect be bullied. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Both of you, come at me together." Long Qianjue's words were very casual. Even though he was facing 2 Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations, there was not the slightest hint of nervousness on his face. Long Qianjue's meaning was very clear. There was no room for negotiation today. There was only one outcome. Chu Fengmian would escape unscathed. Otherwise, he would have to defeat Long Qianjue. Although Long Qianjue had not appeared in the Holy Dragon secret realm for hundreds of years, that was before Yun Zun's rise. The most dazzling disciple of the Holy Dragon secret realm had always been Long Qianjue. The Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and Emperor Gu of Luojian's eyes were filled with deep fear and hesitation. Even the 2 of them might not be a match for Long Qianjue in a 2-on-1 battle. "What do you plan to do with the orders from the higher-ups? You should know that when Emperor Gu of the jurisprudence comes out of his seclusion, we will have to give him an explanation for this matter." Emperor Gu of Luojian stared at Long Qianjue and said, "Emperor Gu of the jurisprudence, the founder of the Law Enforcement Hall, one of the most important people in the Holy Dragon secret realm. He was an extremely ancient Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. In the Holy Dragon secret realm, Emperor Gu of the jurisprudence was a living legend. No one knew how many legendary battles he had experienced. The legends of Emperor Gu of the jurisprudence had been passed down in countless ancient books in the Daluo Star domain. Chu Fengmian had destroyed the Law Enforcement Hall today. Once Emperor Gu of the jurisprudence learned of this news, he would not let Chu Fengmian off the hook. When the time comes, the Holy Dragon sect will have an explanation. You don't have to worry," Long Qianjue said coldly. "The 2 of you just need to mind your own business." "Very well. Let's see how you explain this to Emperor Gu of the jurisprudence." The Emperor of 10,000 Dragons snorted coldly. "Let's go." The 2 of them could not do anything to Long Qianjue even if they worked together today. There was no point in staying here. They turned into streaks of light and left. Before Emperor Gu of Luojian left, he glared at Chu Fengmian. The murderous intent in his eyes showed that he had no intention of letting Chu Fengmian off the hook. However, it was not a good time to make a move today. When the opportunity arose, Emperor Gu of Luojian would definitely make a move against Chu Fengmian. This grudge could not be resolved. Chapter 1439. Emperor Gu, Luojian and Emperor Gu left in anger. The spectating disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret realm also knew that today's matter had been settled. Even the 2 tribulations Emperor Gu could not do anything to Chu Fengmian. From today onwards, Chu Fengmian's name would be known throughout the entire Holy Dragon's secret realm. Not only was Chu Fengmian powerful, but he was also extremely crazy. In the Holy Dragon's secret realm, there were many powerful people who had the ability to destroy the law enforcement hall. However, Chu Fengmian was the only one who dared to do so. This kind of reckless craziness was what terrified countless disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret realm. No one wanted to become the next law enforcement hall. Looking at the ruins of the law enforcement hall below, countless people lamented. No one would have thought that the law enforcement hall would end up in such a state. Although the 10,000 Dragon Hall and Sword Comprehension Hall were slightly better than the Law Enforcement Hall, they had also suffered heavy losses in this incident. Countless disciples and powerful people were killed, and they would not be able to recover from this setback. The only one who could hold their heads high was Chu Fengmian's Holy Dragon sect. Due to Yunzun's departure, everyone felt that the Holy Dragon sect had lost its former status and wanted to test the waters against the Holy Dragon sect. The position of the leader of the 4 sects was something that everyone wanted. However, Yunzun was not here today. Chu Fengmian alone was enough to destroy the entire law enforcement hall. Qing Meng was not weak either. She had someone like Long Qianjue who could make the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu cower. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. There must be a reason why the Holy Dragon sect could occupy the position of the leader of the 4 sections. Junior brother, let's go. Qing Meng turned to Chu Fengmian and said, "Let's go." Whoosh. Chu Fengmian, Qing Meng, and Long Qianjue turned into 3 streaks of light and returned to the Holy Dragon sect. The great battle had ended just like that. In the Holy Dragon sect, 4 people sat in a palace. Chu Fengmian, Qing Meng, Luo Kong and Long Qianjue. The 4 of them sat together and were talking. Qing Meng, junior brother, what you did this time was too reckless. Long Qianjue glanced at Qing Meng and Chu Fengmian and sighed. The Holy Dragon's secret realm is not as simple as you think. Today's matter may be over, but some of the higher-ups in the Holy Dragon's secret realm will not let you go. Some higher-ups of the Holy Dragon's secret realm? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. Ever since he had encountered the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and the ancient Emperor of the Luo clan, Chu Fengmian had learned that there was a formidable force hidden within the sacred dragon mystical ground. What he had shown so far was only the tip of the iceberg. After all, as one of the 4 major forces of the Daluo star field, the Holy Dragon's secret dimension was definitely not that simple. Qianjue. Qianjue marshals dragon sects the sect, S sect. S sexes cultivated? The core sects and disciples and elders. Most of the elders are also cultivating in the Holy Dragon's secret realm. Many of them were the hall masters of the 8 halls. Even the great elders of the 4 sects would enter the Holy Dragon's secret realm to cultivate in seclusion after becoming Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. Behind the law enforcement hall there is a big shot. Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations is close to becoming a half-step celestial Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. You destroyed the law enforcement hall today. Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations will not let this go. What? Close to becoming a half-step celestial being? Qing Meng's face changed when she heard this. Even the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations was not someone they could deal with, let alone someone close to becoming a half-step celestial being. Senior brother, what should we do? Don't panic. Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations will not come out of seclusion for at least half a year. He and the other higher-ups are working together to comprehend the mystery of the celestial being realm. No one will dare to disturb him. Long Qianjue said slowly. But what about half a year later? Luo Kong asked worriedly. Half a year. 4 cultivators of their level, it was a matter of a snap of a finger. Some Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations realm had lived for tens of thousands of years. Half a year was a very short time. We will be safe for at least half a year. After that, we will have to rely on junior brother himself. Long Qianjue looked at Chu Fengmian with a gratified look in his eyes. Junior brother's strength is beyond my imagination. In the future, the Holy Dragon sect will have to rely on junior brother. After sighing, Long Qianjue's eyes turned serious as he said, Now, the first thing is to let junior brother go to the Holy Land and become a holy son. Once he becomes a holy son, his status will be raised a lot. He will be on the same level as many supreme elders. Even the higher-ups will not dare to punish a holy son. The second thing is to let junior brother step into the Emperor realm in half a year. Once he steps into the Emperor realm, with junior brother's strength, he will be able to compete with the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Even if he is not a match for that Emperor Gu, he will have no problem protecting himself. Long Qianjue's first goal was to become a holy son. It was not difficult for Chu Fengmian. According to the rules of the Holy Dragon secret domain, any disciple with the potential of peerless Emperor Gu could become a holy son. Chu Fengmian's current strength was far enough. But stepping into the Emperor realm was not that easy. Even now, Chu Fengmian had not really touched the threshold of the Emperor realm. Although half a year was tight for Chu Fengmian, it was not impossible for him to step into the Emperor realm. There is no time to lose. I will take junior brother to the Holy Land now. Long Qianjue looked at Chu Fengmian and said. Chu Fengmian listened to Long Qianjue's words and nodded. He had planned to go to the Holy Land and become a holy son. At the same time, he would look for Han Yueli and Luo Shi. It was time for him to go now. Senior sister. Suddenly, several saint pills appeared in Chu Fengmian's hand and he handed them all to Qing Meng. These saint pills, without exception, were all used to assist in breaking through to the next realm. Although they were not as good as the original Emperor pills, they were enough to increase the chances of breaking through to the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu by 30%. In the outside world, every single saint elixir pill was enough to make countless experts fight to the death for it. Please accept these saint pills, senior sister. I can't accept them. Qing Meng looked at these saint pills with hesitation in her eyes. She knew the value of these saint pills. Senior sister, please accept them. Only when senior sister steps into the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu can our Holy Dragon sect truly have the capital to establish ourselves. This battle had also made Chu Fengmian realize that he alone would not be able to contend against the entire Sacred Dragon secret domain. Only by making the people around him stronger could they resist all the dangers. Chapter 1440. After hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Qing Meng did not hesitate and took all the sacred pills. Although she had obtained a primitive emperor pill in the 9 mystic celestial sovereigns' cave, she only had a 50% chance of reaching the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. After all, Qing Meng was still young and had not accumulated enough experience as an 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. With these sacred pills, Qing Meng had at least an 80% chance of reaching the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. This was enough for her to give it a try. The 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu was vastly different from the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. The difference was at least 10 times. If the Holy Dragon sect had a 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, the Law Enforcement Hall would not dare to provoke the Holy Dragon sect. Senior sister, please give this primitive emperor pill to Emperor Yin. Chu Fengmian waved his hand, and another primitive emperor pill flew out. Not only Qing Meng, but Chu Fengmian also wanted a few more 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu on his side. Only then would they have the ability to contend with the Holy Dragon secret realm. Chu Fengmian had wanted to test Emperor Yen, but he did not have so much time now. The 8 tribulations Emperor Gu that Chu Fengmian could trust were only Qing Meng and Emperor Yen. Primitive Emperor Pill, junior brother's wealth is truly shocking. Long Qianjue sighed when he saw the primitive Emperor Pill. If he had obtained a primitive Emperor Pill back then, it would have been much easier for him to reach the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. At least he could have reached the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu decades earlier. Is there anything you need, second senior brother? Chu Fengmian looked at Long Qianjue when he heard this. Chu Fengmian was full of admiration for this second senior brother. Long Qianjue had already cut ties with the Holy Dragon secret realm. He could have stayed out of today's matter to avoid trouble. But Long Qianjue still stood out and protected Chu Fengmian. Without Long Qianjue, today's matter would have been difficult to resolve. This alone was enough to earn Chu Fengmian's respect. Me? With my current strength, any external items won't be of much use. Long Qianjue smiled. Thank you for your kind intentions, junior brother. Yes. Chu Fengmian knew that Long Qianjue wasn't trying to make excuses. Although Chu Fengmian did not know Long Qianjue's true cultivation level, he was afraid that Long Qianjue had already stepped into the half-step celestial realm. Even if he was not, he was very close to the half-step celestial realm. To such an expert, external objects were no longer sufficient to improve his strength unless it was an extreme Tao immortal weapon, the innate divine beast's blood essence, or the 9 profundity immortal technique. Of course, Chu Fengmian wouldn't take the initiative to give these things away. These were the foundation of Chu Fengmian's strength. Luo Kong, you should cultivate well in the Holy Dragon sect during this period of time. At the very least, you should reach Emperor Gu's level. That way, the remnants of the Law Enforcement Hall won't go after you. Chu Fengmian turned around and said to Luo Kong. Although the Law Enforcement Hall was destroyed, there were still a large number of disciples who survived. Among these people, there was no small number who wanted to take revenge on Chu Fengmian. They didn't dare to deal with Chu Fengmian, but it was enough to deal with Luo Kong. As Chu Fengmian spoke, he took out an empty ring and handed it to Luo Kong. There was a large amount of cultivation resources and countless sacred elixirs in it. It was enough for Luo Kong to reach Emperor Gu's level. Yes, senior brother. Luo Kong took the empty ring and said respectfully. This time, he had almost died and his fighting spirit had been aroused. With his talent, it wouldn't be difficult for him to reach Emperor Gu's level. All right, if there's nothing else, let's set off now. Long Qianjue said. All right. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed and he followed Long Qianjue out of the Holy Dragon sect. The 2 streaks of light not only left the Holy Dragon sect, but they also headed west and left the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. The Sacred Land isn't in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. It's a separate extraterritorial place. It's usually hidden in the Sea of Stars. Among the disciples, only the chosen and some core disciples with great potential are qualified to enter. Long Qianjue and Chu Fengmian conversed as they flew. Many of the chosen in the Sacred Land are not to be underestimated. For example, Little Emperor Yi, Little Ju Di, and the others. Even with your strength, you may not be able to defeat them. What? Chu Fengmian was inwardly shocked. Chu Fengmian had never thought much of the chosen in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. After all, they were just disciples. Chu Fengmian's current strength was enough to kill 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. Dealing with the chosen would be a piece of cake. But now Long Qianjue was saying that Chu Fengmian might not be a match for some of the chosen? Long Qianjue was well aware of Chu Fengmian's strength, and yet he said something like that. Little Emperor Yi? Little Ju Di? What a strange name. Chu Fengmian suddenly thought of something and said, what do these 2 have to do with Little Emperor Yi and Ju Di? Chu Fengmian recalled seeing these 2 names in the Hall of Enlightenment. They were experts from the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm 100,000 years ago, half a step into the Celestial Realm. But they'd long since perished. Now that he heard the names of Little Emperor Yi and Little Jiuyu, no matter how he looked at it, they had something to do with Little Emperor Yi and Jiuyu. You figured it out so quickly? Long Qianjue was surprised by Chu Fengmian's words. He laughed. That's right. Little Emperor Yi and Little Jiuyu have received the legacies of Little Emperor Yi and Jiuyu. But it's not as simple as that. They've also inherited a portion of Little Emperor Yi and Jiuyu's power. So, although they're only boundary emperors, their true strength is enough to surpass most of the venerated elders. That's why I said you may not be a match for them. Legacies of power. Chu Fengmian's brows furrowed. Receiving the legacies of powerful experts was a common occurrence in every era. Chu Fengmian had received the 9 profound immortal arts, so he'd received the legacy of the 9 profound immortal sovereign. But he'd never heard of a legacies of power. It's a secret art of the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. When powerful experts die, they can leave behind a portion of their power for their successors to inherit. Long Qianjue explained. Little Emperor Yi, for example. He inherited Little Emperor Ye's legacy. So, as a boundary emperor, he can fight Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. Fight Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. Chu Fengmian had fought Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations before. He knew how terrifying Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations was. Chapter 1441. The methods of the sacred dragon's secret domain are indeed beyond my imagination. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. It was actually enough to pass down the power of a fallen master and allow other cultivators to succeed him. This was like obtaining a huge fortune out of nowhere. The moment Little Emperor Yi obtained the power inheritance, he would be able to leave other cultivators in the dust. In this way, it would be enough for the masters of the sacred dragon's secret domain to pass down their power generation after generation, and their foundation would become deeper and deeper. The power inheritance secret technique is nothing special. At the very least, the 4 great forces of the Daluo star field all know this kind of secret technique. Xing Xian suddenly spoke in Chu Feng's mind. In ancient times, almost every sect had a secret art that could pass down this kind of power. Xing Xian, do you know of it? Chu Fengmian was a little surprised. This power inheritance secret technique should be considered a secret in the sacred dragon secret domain. If Chu Fengmian wasn't going to the Holy Land this time, Long Qianjue might not have told him. What's the big deal about it? It's not a secret at all. This power inheritance secret skill is an extremely powerful secret skill. Any expert who has reached the 9 Calamity Ancient Emperor realm or above can use this power inheritance secret skill to leave behind a Saraira before they die. Whoever obtains this relic will be able to obtain the power left behind in it. However, this power inheritance secret technique is not as perfect as you think. Xing Xian spoke slowly. Once a cultivator accepts this power inheritance secret technique, their strength will never be able to surpass the previous masters. It's like if you obtain the relic of a half-step Emperor Realm Master, but in the future, the cultivator's potential will be limited to that of a half-step Emperor Realm Master. Even if you obtain a heaven-shaking opportunity, you won't be able to surpass this limit. This is the weakness of this power inheritance secret technique. Therefore, in ancient times, even though every sect had this kind of power inheritance secret technique, very few were willing to accept it. True geniuses would never accept this kind of power inheritance secret technique. I didn't expect this kind of secret technique to be so precious in this era. Xing Xian pursed his lips as he spoke. Because times have changed. After hearing Xing Xian's words, Chu Fengmian also understood that this power inheritance secret technique was far from being as perfect as Chu Fengmian had imagined. Obtaining the experience and strength of their predecessors was enough to allow a martial artist to rise rapidly. But in the end, no matter what, they would never be able to break through the bottleneck of their predecessors. Little Emperor Yi, for example. Little Jiuyu's legacy was half a step into the celestial realm. In this day and age, reaching the celestial realm was almost impossible. That was why they were willing to choose this power inheritance secret technique. But for Chu Fengmian, it was impossible to choose this power inheritance secret technique. His goal was the celestial realm, and he would never lose the big picture for small gains. After understanding this, Chu Fengmian felt relieved. There were no shortcuts on the path of the strong. The shortcut he took now might become a bottleneck in the future. He had to be down to earth and step by step become an expert. Why isn't such a figure on the All-Heaven Genius rankings? Chu Fengmian suddenly asked doubtfully. To be able to fight against the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu as a quasi-emperor, it would be a piece of cake for him to obtain the top spot on the Grand Luo Genius roll. Even Qing Meng didn't have such heaven-defying strength in the past. Only geniuses who haven't experienced the power inheritance secret technique are on the Grand Luo Genius roll. It's not just little Emperor Yi and the others. The disciples of the other 3 factions who have received the power inheritance secret technique won't be on the roll either. Long Qianjue said with a smile. The 2 of them had arrived in the starry sky. It was extremely spacious, and there were no other continents around. The entrance to the sacred ground of the Holy Dragon secret realm is nearby. Someone got here before us? Chu Fengmian's eyes had just looked over when he saw a group of people in the starry sky not far ahead. There were more than a dozen cultivators in total, and they stood majestically in the starry sky. One of the old men waved his hand. A jade talisman suddenly appeared in his hand and flew out. The jade talisman flew out in the starry sky and immediately released spiritual energy. A teleportation array appeared in the sky and the group stepped into it. These people are also cultivators of the Holy Dragon secret realm? Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed as he sized up the group. Most of the guards in the group had the strength of a 6th Tribulation true emperor. Every one of them was extremely young and seemed to have a bright future ahead of them. They all had the chance to reach the level of Emperor Gu. In the Holy Dragon secret realm, they were at least geniuses at the level of a core disciple. As for the old man, he was an 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. His strength was enough to be on the same level as the Myriad Dragons King. Of course, the one with the highest status in the group wasn't the old man. It was a very young man. He looked like he wasn't even 100 years old, but he was already a genius who had become an Emperor Gu. When the old man faced the young man, he was incomparably respectful. Judging by the group, they must have entered the sacred ground of the Holy Dragon secret realm. This group of people should be from Qi Lin Mountain. Long Qianjue glanced at them and said, "Many geniuses from the 4 major powers often fight against each other. Every 3 years there will be a competition between the 4 major powers. Therefore, there is a chance to meet the disciples of the other 3 major powers in the sacred ground. It's none of our business. Let's enter the sacred ground directly." Long Qianjue looked at the stars in front of him and waved his hand. He didn't take out a jade talisman like the old man did. Instead, a very unique spirit energy was emitted from his palm. He pointed his finger and a teleportation formation appeared in front of Chu Fengmian and Long Qianjue. The 2 of them stepped into the teleportation array and disappeared from the starry sky. The group of people that Chu Fengmian saw in the teleportation formation also noticed Chu Fengmian. The young man who was the leader asked, "Those 2 seem to be coming to the sacred ground of the Holy Dragon secret realm. That little guy should be a newly promoted Holy Prince." "I don't know. There hasn't been any news of a new Holy Prince in the Holy Dragon secret realm recently. Maybe it's a core disciple who got the chance to go to the sacred ground for training. That little guy is not worthy of young master's attention." A disciple from Qi Linshan flattered. Chapter 1442. What marriage alliance? That girl is qualified to marry our young master. It's her fortune. Another Qilin Mountain disciple flattered. It's said that Luo she is not only beautiful, but her bloodline is also extremely noble. It's said that she has the bloodline of an innate divine beast. If young master marries her and obtains the power of her bloodline, who will be able to compete with young master in the future? That's right. Although our ancestors don't know what Luo Shi's bloodline is, it's definitely a good innate divine beast bloodline. That's why they sent me here to propose marriage. The young man sneered and said, I just happened to learn a secret technique when I was young. After I marry her, I can use it on her and extract the power of her bloodline. It's said that Luo Shi has a close friend called Hanyueli. She's also a first-class beauty. If young master marries both of them, you'll be truly blessed. Another Qilin mountain disciple said, In my opinion, it's better for both of them to marry young master. Forget it. This time, in order to show the sincerity of our Qilin mountain, we'll just ask for Luo Shi's hand in marriage. As for that Han Yuli, after I marry Luo Shi and take her bloodline, wouldn't she be mine? The young man laughed loudly. Let's go. When we reach the sacred ground, we can't talk nonsense like this anymore. Yes, we all know. The other Qilin mountain disciples were also laughing as they entered the Holy Land through the teleportation magic array. Damn it. This guy is courting death. Chu Fengmian, who was at the back, heard all the conversations of the Qilin mountain disciples. In his heart there was endless anger. If this wasn't the sacred ground, Chu Fengmian would have rushed up and killed the young man and the group of Qilin mountain disciples on the spot. Hanyueli and Luo Shi were both Chu Fengmian's women. Now, someone dared to have ideas about his women. Propose marriage? Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed with killing intent. When the young man went to propose marriage, Chu Fengmian would definitely give him a big gift. Chu Fengmian's thoughts were incomparably deep. All of this flashed through his mind. As for Chu Fengmian, there was no change in his expression. Junior brother, I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll accompany you to the Holy Land. After passing the saint's test, I'll be leaving. If you encounter any problems in the future, you'll have to deal with them yourself. Long Qianjue said to Chu Fengmian. He had exited his closed-door training this time because of Luo Kang's matter. He was in the most critical period of comprehending martial arts. After sending Chu Fengmian to the Holy Land, he would have to go back and continue comprehending. Sorry to trouble you, second senior brother. Chu Fengmian expressed his gratitude. Long Qianjue had forced himself out of seclusion because of them. It's my duty. Since eldest senior brother isn't here, I naturally won't let anyone bully the Holy Dragon sect. Long Qianjue's eyes flashed fiercely. Let's go. We'll go straight into the depths. Inside the teleportation portal, Chu Fengmian felt the world spinning around him. In an instant, he had traveled thousands of kilometers. Along the way, Chu Fengmian had lost count of how many restrictive arrays he had seen. These restrictive arrays surrounded the Holy Land layer by layer. Even some of the more powerful Emperor Gu of the Nine Tribulations would find it difficult to force their way in if they knew where the Holy Land was. Those who tried to force their way in would only be killed by the restrictive arrays above. Along the way, Chu Fengmian saw some skeletons. These skeletons had remained intact for tens of thousands of years. Obviously, they were some powerful cultivators who had tried to force their way into the Holy Land but were killed by the restrictive arrays above. The Holy Dragon's secret realm was indeed powerful, but it also had many enemies. The Holy Land could be said to be the foundation of everything in the Holy Dragon's secret realm. If the Holy Land was destroyed, the Holy Dragon's secret realm would cease to exist. Gradually, Chu Fengmian and Long Qianjue's figures passed through countless restrictive arrays and arrived at the top of a huge mountain. This mountain was much larger than the 12 mountains in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Plane combined. It was hundreds of thousands of feet tall and pierced through the clouds, soaring into the sky. At a glance, one could not see the top of the mountain. On this mountain, there were many palaces. Above each palace, there was an extremely powerful aura. Among these auras, none were weaker than Emperor Gu's. In the Holy Land, Emperor Gu was a presence that could be seen everywhere. There were at least thousands of Emperor Gu or geniuses who had not stepped into the Emperor Gu's realm but had the strength of Emperor Gu. There are many Emperor Gu of the 7 tribulations and Emperor Gu of the 8 tribulations. There is an even more terrifying force hidden in the depths. Chu Fengmian could feel that there was an extremely threatening force hidden above the clouds above the mountain peak. The 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. The 9 tribulations Emperor Gu of the Holy Dragon secret realm was also cultivating in the Holy Land. However, he was above the clouds and the other disciples could not see him. It was rare to see newcomers in the Holy Land. Seeing Chu Fengmian and Long Qianjue's escape light, many people looked over curiously. However, most of them were just curious and there was not much hostility. Chu Fengmian's reputation in the Holy Dragon secret realm should not have spread to the Holy Land. Otherwise, the saints from the 10,000 Dragon Hall, Sword Comprehension Hall, and Law Enforcement Hall would not turn a blind eye to it. Let's go to the mountain gate. Long Qianjue led Chu Fengmian all the way to a gate on the mountain peak. Behind the gate was a huge palace. Inside the palace, an old man saw Long Qianjue and hurriedly flew out to welcome him. Because of Yun Zun, Long Qianjue's reputation in the Holy Dragon secret realm was not as prominent. However, those who were in the same generation as Long Qianjue clearly knew how powerful Long Qianjue was. Although the old man who flew out was an 8 tribulations Emperor Gu, he was extremely respectful towards Long Qianjue. Someone else has come to the Holy Land? Someone suddenly became a saint? Why didn't we hear about it? Which sect or hall is it from? That old man's aura is so terrifying. Look, Emperor Gu of the Blue Sail sect has come out to welcome him. Seeing the old man fly out of the palace, many of the holy sons of the Holy Lands were surprised. Emperor Gu of the Blue Sail sect was the butler of all the saints in the Holy Land. Although he was not the most powerful, he was still an 8 tribulations Emperor Gu. Usually, some of the Grand Elders and the Grand Elders of the 4 sects would take the initiative to enter the palace to look for him. Today, he came out to welcome him. Looks like this person is not ordinary. Even if he is not a peerless genius, he must have a shocking background. Chapter 1443. Even Emperor Gu of Tsongfan came out to welcome him personally. This attracted the attention of many saints from the sacred grounds. So what? A peerless genius? Before we entered the sacred grounds, we were all peerless geniuses. How dare a newbie show off? We must teach him a lesson. Some of the saints looked at Chu Fengmian with hostility. Every single one of these saints was a prodigy of the heavens. Who would be willing to be inferior to others? Now that they saw Chu Fengmian's background, they were even more hostile towards him and wanted to trample him under their feet. The competition between the saints was many times more intense than the competition between the disciples in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension. For example, in the Holy Dragon secret realm, Chu Fengmian had joined the Holy Dragon sect. Countless people had formed enmity and provoked Chu Fengmian. These saints were lawless people. Other than strength, they did not care about anything else. It was said that some of the saints did not even give face to the Grand Elders in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension and had beaten them up. Such people could only be subdued with strength. Chu Fengmian looked at the countless saints and sneered. He did not say anything and flew over with Long Qianjue. This is Chu Fengmian, a disciple of the Holy Dragon sect. He already has the strength to become a saint. I brought him to the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension to help him become a saint. Long Qianjue said indifferently when he saw Emperor Gu of Tsongfan coming over. Go and help him with the procedures to become a saint. Well, to become a saint, one has to go through a test. Emperor Gu of Tsongfan hesitated when he heard Long Qianjue's words. After the test, he has to be observed for 3 months. Only after he is sure of his loyalty to the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension can he become a saint. A saint was the most respected position among the disciples of the sacred dragon mystery dimension. Every saint represented the face of the sacred dragon mystery dimension. Therefore, for every saint to be promoted, they had to go through a lot of tests. Strength, loyalty, and potential were all indispensable. 3 months? That would take so long. Song Fan, are you doubting my junior? Long Qianjue snorted coldly. What, you still don't trust me? I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare. Hearing the anger in Long Qianjue's words, Emperor Gu of Tsangfan smiled apologetically. He didn't dare to offend Long Qianjue, even though there were rumors that the upper echelons were already dissatisfied with the Holy Dragon sect. But now that he had offended Long Qianjue, he would be dead before that day came. I'll do it right away. Little brother, please follow me. Emperor Gu glanced at Chu Fengmian and hurriedly led him into the palace. Because of Long Qianjue, he didn't dare call Chu Fengmian too loudly. Take out your identity card, Emperor Gu of Tsangfan said. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and took out his identity card. Tsangfan Emperor Gu took the identity card and infused it with spiritual energy. Soon, Chu Fengmian's identity badge turned into a sparkling green color, and the word Saint was written on it. This was the identity card with the word Saint in the Holy Dragon secret territory. Becoming a chosen meant that one had joined the core of the Sacred Dragon mystery domain. Each of these chosen had a bright future ahead of them. If there were no accidents, they would definitely become Grand Elders in the future. It was even possible for them to become sect masters and hall masters of the 4 sects and 8 halls. Chu Fengmian, from today onwards, you are the Saint of the Holy Dragon secret territory. Your status is on par with the Grand Elders. You don't even need to bow when you meet the Grand Elders. Emperor Gu of Tsangfan handed the identity card to Chu Fengmian and said, On the Saint Peak there are countless empty caves. You can choose any one of them to be your cave. As for the rest, there are no rules in the Holy Dragon secret territory except that you are not allowed to go to the peak. You can use everything in the Holy Dragon secret territory. You can also leave the Holy Dragon secret territory as you wish. The way to return to the Holy Dragon secret territory is recorded in your identity card. Emperor Gu of Tsangfan explained many things about the Holy Dragon secret territory. This was more or less on account of Long Qianjue. Otherwise, he would not care about any newly promoted saint, let alone explain in such detail. Thank you, Emperor Gu of Tsangfan. Chu Fengmian took the identity card and turned to leave. He had a rough understanding of the Holy Dragon secret territory from his conversation with Long Qianjue. The Holy Dragon secret territory was extremely lax. As long as one did not break any rules, one was basically free. In the Holy Dragon secret territory, one could fight with other saints and use the resources to cultivate. One could also leave the Holy Dragon secret territory as one wished. There were only 2 ironclad rules. One was that fellow disciples were not allowed to kill each other. The other was that one was not allowed to step onto the peak. This was also the ironclad rule of the Holy Dragon secret territory. Although it was not very useful, one would be punished for blatantly breaking the rules. Unless there was a blood feud, very few people dared to break this rule. As for the second rule, it was because the peak was where the higher-ups of the Holy Dragon secret territory cultivated in seclusion. All saints were not allowed to go near to avoid disturbing the higher-ups' seclusion. Once I'm in the Holy Dragon secret territory, I can look for Han Yueli and Luo Shi. Chu Fengmian gathered his spiritual awareness and slowly scanned the entire Holy Dragon secret territory. In the Holy Dragon secret territory, Chu Fengmian could clearly feel the traces of their spiritual power. It was obvious that the 2 of them were cultivating in the Holy Dragon secret territory. However, Chu Fengmian observed carefully and only found Luo Shi. As for Han Yueli, she seemed to have left the Holy Dragon secret territory and gone to other places. This was not strange. Cultivating in seclusion would not make one a strong person. Apart from cultivating in seclusion, it was also important to gain experience. Therefore, there were close to 1,000 saints in the Holy Dragon secret territory. However, there were less than 100 of them left in the Holy Dragon secret territory. Most of the saints were also cultivating outside. They only returned to the Holy Dragon secret territory when they needed to rest or cultivate in seclusion to reach a higher level. Let's go find Luo Shi first. Chu Fengmian's eyes darkened. The group of Qilin Mountain disciples that he had just met had come for Luo Shi. They were planning to propose marriage. Chu Fengmian also had to tell Luo Shi about this so that they could discuss countermeasures. Chu Fengmian sensed that Luo Shi should be in a huge palace on the peak of the mountain. There were 8 saints gathered in the palace. They should be a small group. Chapter 1444. This palace belonged to the group of holy sons of the Five Spirits sect. It seemed that Luo Shi had also integrated into the sacred land. Chu Fengmian got up and left the palace, flying directly towards the huge palace where Luo Shi was. So fast! Did this person not pass the assessment? Directly promoted to a saint? Seeing Chu Fengmian's escape light fly out of the palace, many saints were surprised. What is the background of this kid? He became a saint without passing the assessment? This has never happened in the sacred land for many years. These chosens had gone through countless tests before finally being promoted to chosens. The saints represented the most elite disciples of the Sacred Dragon secret domain, and also the core of the Sacred Dragon secret domain. Therefore, the assessment of every saint was extremely strict. The disciples who had the opportunity to be promoted to a saint were almost all the geniuses of the various sects and halls. Every one of them was ranked at the top of the Great Luo Genius ranking. Even so, there were still a large number of people who were eliminated because they did not pass the assessment. Every holy son in the entire Holy Land was considered a proud son of heaven, a genius among geniuses. Now that they saw that Chu Fengmian had actually become a chosen without passing the test, many chosen revealed looks of jealousy in their eyes. Just as Chu Fengmian left the palace, a few of the saints revealed anger and planned to teach Chu Fengmian a lesson. But when they reached the direction where Chu Fengmian was flying, they stopped. This kid is going to the Five Spirits sect's palace? This person is a disciple of the Five Spirits sect. They looked at the direction where Chu Fengmian was flying towards the Five Spirits sect's palace, and were all shocked. It doesn't look like it. This person doesn't cultivate the cultivation technique of the Five Spirits sect. Then why is he looking for those monsters of the Five Spirits sect? Don't bother about him. He just came to the sacred land and he dares to barge in. Those monsters of the Five Spirits sect will teach him a lesson. The corners of the saints' mouths curled up into cold gazes as they looked at Chu Fengmian with mockery in their eyes. Those saints who were about to find trouble with Chu Fengmian also stopped and looked at Chu Fengmian with a sneer. He seemed to be waiting for Chu Fengmian to make a fool of himself. In the Holy Land, although there were sect rules that forbade the killing of fellow disciples, fights between fellow disciples were not prohibited. So in the Holy Lands, weak holy sons or newcomers would be taught a lesson by some expert. They were all waiting to see Chu Fengmian being taught a lesson. They watched Chu Fengmian head to the palace of the Five Spirits sect as if they were watching a good show. Is there something strange about the Five Spirits sect's palace? Chu Fengmian also noticed these strange gazes. Looking at the gazes of these holy sons, it was obvious that they were wary of the Five Spirits sect's palace. It seemed that they were wary of the few holy sons of the Five Spirits sect. However, Chu Fengmian was not worried. He was not looking for trouble today. Instead, he was looking for Luo Shi. Since Luo Shi had become a disciple of the Five Spirits sect, the Five Spirits sect should be a friend and not an enemy. The palace of the Five Spirits sect was the largest on the sacred mountain. Only the palace of the Sacred Academy sect was as large as the palace. Even the Six Ultimates sect, which was at the bottom of the four sects, did not have such an imposing manner. Of course, the Holy Dragon sect had few people. Besides Chu Fengmian, there were no other disciples of the Holy Dragon sect in the Holy Land. Naturally, there was no palace belonging to the Holy Dragon sect. The moment he approached the palace of the Five Spirits sect, a restriction shrouded and blocked Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian felt that in addition to blocking people, this restriction also had the function of notifying other people in the palace of the Five Spirits sect. As long as someone touched this restriction, the Holy Sons of the Five Spirits sect would be able to detect it. Chu Fengmian only came to look for Luo Shi today. He did not intend to provoke the Five Spirits sect. He condensed spiritual power on his finger and pointed at the restriction in front of him. Suddenly, a wave of ripples appeared on the restriction. This wave of spiritual power could not hurt the restriction, but it was enough to let others feel it. Boom! Not long after the ripples appeared on the restriction, a ray of light quickly flew out from the palace. At the same time, an extremely domineering power of the world appeared. The strength of this person had at least reached the level of the Seven Calamities Emperor Gu, or even the peak of the Seven Calamities Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian also felt that the realm of this person was far from the Seven Calamities Emperor Gu. He was only a quasi-emperor. A quasi-emperor actually had the strength of the Seven Calamities Emperor Gu. Once this person broke through, he would definitely become a peerless Emperor Gu. There is still no lack of geniuses in the Holy Dragon's secret territory. Chu Fengmian sighed in his heart when he saw the arrival of this person. As one of the four major forces of the Daluo star field, the Holy Dragon's secret territory was indeed not as simple as it looked. This person's talent should be a little weaker than Qing Meng, but the difference was not too far. While Chu Fengmian was sighing, the light gradually revealed a figure. It was a red-haired youth. Fire spiritual power enveloped his body. He was obviously a fire-based martial artist. Who are you? Why have you barged into the Five Spirits sect's palace? The red-haired youth glanced at Chu Fengmian. Seeing that Chu Fengmian's appearance was extremely unfamiliar, his face revealed some surprise. There were only so many saints in the Holy Land. Therefore, even if they were not familiar with each other, they would have seen each other before. And now, he had not even seen Chu Fengmian's appearance before. My name is Chu Fengmian. I'm here to look for someone called Luo Shi. Chu Fengmian said casually. She's someone I know. Chu Fengmian? Hearing this name, the red-haired youth frowned. In his memory, not only the saints, he had never heard of such a person among the core disciples. Of course, the main reason was that Chu Fengmian was originally a newcomer to the Holy Dragon's secret territory. A newcomer who could be promoted to a saint so quickly was already the first person in the entire Holy Dragon's secret territory. The news of the Holy Land was already blocked. In addition to the saints, the news of a newcomer was not worth paying attention to. They had never even heard of it before. However, the red-haired youth also saw the identity badge on Chu Fengmian's chest. There was the word Saint on it and the unique spiritual power of the Holy Land. It could not be fake. He was also a saint. You should be a newly promoted saint. A newly promoted saint. Shouldn't you find a cave and look for junior sister Luo Shi first? The red-haired youth looked at Chu Fengmian with some impatience in his eyes. Chapter 1445. If you don't believe me, you can tell Luo Shi that my name is Chu Fengmian. She will know if you tell her my name. Chu Fengmian saw the red-haired youth's expression and realized that the red-haired youth probably thought that Chu Fengmian was one of Luo Shi's suitors. However, Chu Fengmian had also heard that Luo Shi had many suitors in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Domain. Even the geniuses of the other three major forces had many suitors for Luo Shi. Many of these suitors did not come with good intentions. The red-haired youth must have seen more than one of Luo Shi's suitors, which was why he was so impatient. You don't have to tell junior sister Luo Shi. Don't you want to see her? Sure, I'll let you in if you defeat me. If you lose, leave obediently and don't harass junior sister Luo Shi in the future. The red-haired youth stared at Chu Fengmian and said coldly. You and I are both quasi-emperors. How about we fight like this? You want to fight with me? Chu Fengmian laughed when he heard the red-haired youth's words. Although the red-haired youth was not weak, he was far from being Chu Fengmian's opponent. His strength was only at the peak of the 7 tribulations Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian, on the other hand, was strong enough to kill the 8 tribulations Emperor Gu. The difference in strength between the two was huge. Chu Fengmian was a little unwilling to fight. What? You don't dare? You're a chosen after all. Don't you have the courage? The red-haired youth sneered when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. He thought that Chu Fengmian was afraid and laughed coldly. If you don't dare, leave now to avoid physical pain. Forget it. If you want to fight, come at me. Chu Fengmian could not be bothered to talk nonsense after hearing the red-haired youth's words. He could tell that most of the chosen in the sacred ground were battle maniacs. Only strength was enough to make them submit. Everything else was nonsense. Strength was just words here. Everything else was just empty talk. When facing a group of heaven's prides, one had to make them submit. At least you have some backbone. A newcomer dares to fight with me. Not bad. It seems that you don't know me either. My name is Yan Hanshi. It's not an injustice for you to be defeated by me. The red-haired youth called Yan Hanshi laughed heartily as he spoke. Yan Hanshi? You've never received a power inheritance before? Chu Fengmian said in surprise when he heard the name Yan Hanshi. For a quasi-emperor to possess such strength, Chu Fengmian's first reaction was that he must have inherited the power. If he had inherited the power, it would have been easy for him to achieve all this. However, to possess such strength without receiving any power inheritance, this Yan Hanshi's talent was most definitely not low. Even if he was inferior to Qin Meng, he was most definitely a genius on the same level as her. Power inheritance. Who would accept that kind of thing, that kind of shortcut? It's better not to take it. Yan Hanshi sneered. He showed great disdain toward the inheritance of power. Seeing that you haven't received any power inheritance, I'll give you a piece of advice. You'd better not touch it unless you don't have the heart of a powerhouse. Receiving a power inheritance almost meant that one would never have the chance to step into the celestial realm in their lifetime. After all, the highest power inheritance in the entire Daluo star field was at the half-step celestial realm. As for the celestial realm, they wouldn't leave behind any power inheritance. Geniuses who wanted to step into the celestial realm in the future wouldn't choose to receive a power inheritance. Thank you for the reminder, brother. Chu Fengmian smiled when he heard Yan Hanshi's words. This Yan Hanshi was a good person. Seeing that Chu Fengmian was a newcomer, he came to remind Chu Fengmian. Many saints couldn't help but accept a power inheritance after entering the Holy Land. This was a shortcut to reaching the heavens in a single bound. Of course, there were also some saints whose goal wasn't just to reach the half-step celestial realm, but to break through to the true celestial realm. For these people, a power inheritance was beneath them. If I defeat you, you'll take me to Luo Shi? Chu Fengmian looked at Yan Hanshi and asked. That's right. Yan Hanshi nodded his head and said. Well then, make your move. Chu Fengmian looked at Yan Hanshi and said calmly. I'll let you make the first move. Chu Fengmian's words revealed a look of incomparable confidence, which made Yan Hanshi look a little angry. You talk big, but I don't know if your power is as strong as your tone. Earth fire. Boom. In the palm of Yan Hanshi, an incomparably red flame condensed. At a glance, one could see 9 different colors within this cluster of flames. These 9 colors seemed to be different flames, but they were gathered together by flame world shaking with a unique power, turning into an incomparably domineering flame. In terms of power, it wasn't much inferior to Chu Fengmian's pure yang sky fire. Earth fire? The fusion of the 9-fold earth fire? Chu Fengmian observed and said coldly. The 9 colors of this flame were almost exactly the same as the 9-fold earth fire. Heaven had the 9-fold heavenly fire, and so did the 9-fold earth fire. The ninefold earth fire was slightly inferior to the ninefold heavenly fire, but it wasn't something that could be touched by martial artists. Normally, when refining elixirs, the earth fire would be drawn out, but it would only be the first and second earth fires. Now, Yen Hanshi had control of all the ninefold earth fires. That's a little tricky, Yen Hanshi said with some admiration in his eyes. I call this flame the world-shaking earth fire. Be careful. Fire bird. Whoosh! The world-shaking earth fire in Yen Hanshi's palm suddenly flew out and turned into a fire bird in front of him. It roared at Chu Fengmian and flew over immediately. This fire bird was no different from a real bird. Even the sound of the bird was exactly the same. To be able to achieve such a lifelike state through the condensation of flames was enough to prove the brilliance of Yen Hanshi's fire control. None of the saints in the sacred dragon mystery dimension were weak. This was the first time he had fought with a saint from a sacred ground. Yen Hanshi was definitely an expert. However, in terms of flames, Chu Fengmian wasn't inferior. Fire bird go! Whoosh! A colorless flame suddenly ignited in Chu Fengmian's palm. It turned into a firebird and flew out. Chu Fengmian's fire control might not be as profound as Yen Hanshi's. However, Chu Fengmian was stronger than Yen Hanshi in one aspect. Chu Fengmian had the ice-fire divine body. With his ice-fire divine body, he could control flames like he was controlling his own body. Chapter 1446. Pure Yang Heavenly Fire? When Yen Hanshi saw the fire bird formed by the pure Yang Heavenly Flame, his eyes flashed with surprise. He observed it carefully and his expression changed. Innate divine body? Yen Hanshi could not detect the aura of fire elemental skill on Chu Fengmian's body. He was stunned when he saw the pure Yang Heavenly Fire. However, he immediately reacted. A flame like the pure Yang Heavenly Fire was something that even an expert with a profound understanding of the Tao of fire couldn't control. For example, Yen Hanshi could only control the ninefold earth fire. The pure Yang Heavenly Fire was far beyond his ability to control. There was only one possibility that could control the pure Yang Heavenly Fire, and that was the innate divine body. Since you dare to pursue junior sister Luoshi, it seems that you have some ability. So what if you have the pure Yang Heavenly Fire? My world-shaking earth fire is not inferior to the pure Yang Heavenly Fire. Yen Hanshi snorted. Fire Phoenix Prairie Fire. Yen Hanshi displayed his fire-controlling Tao. Every flame in his palm was exquisitely controlled, besieging Chu Fengmian's pure Yang Heavenly Fire. Under this siege, the pure Yang Skyfire was beaten back little by little. In terms of fire-controlling Tao, there was a huge gap between Chu Fengmian and Yen Hanshi. However, in terms of strength, Yen Hanshi was no match for him. Break! Chu Fengmian snorted. He did not bother with Yen Hanshi's flame entanglement. He commanded his fire bird to roar, spread its wings, and rush towards Yen Hanshi, breaking all Tao with force. No matter how mysterious fire-controlling Tao was, Chu Fengmian only needed to break it with force. Whoosh! The fire bird condensed by the pure Yang Heavenly Fire was extremely fast. It rushed in front of Yen Hanshi in an instant. Not good! Yen Hanshi's face suddenly became solemn. If the pure Yang Heavenly Fire touched him, he would be doomed eternally. He kept retreating. At the same time, he gathered all the flames around him in an attempt to resist. All of you break, said Chu Fengmian with a cold smile. At the same time, he took a step forward and threw a punch. The pure Yang Heavenly Fire became even more ferocious. Rumble! The barrier of flames in front of Yen Hanshi was completely destroyed. The scorching flames directly approached Yen Hanshi's body. When it was less than 3 inches away from God Yen Hanshi, it suddenly disappeared. Thanks for letting me win. At the last moment, Chu Fengmian withdrew his pure Yang Skyfire. He could also tell that Yen Hanshi was very concerned about Luoshi. In this sacred land, although it was allowed to injure others when sparring, Chu Fengmian didn't have any enmity with Yan Hanshi and didn't want to hurt him. Thank you. Yan Hanshi breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Chu Fengmian take back the pure yang skyfire. With his strength, although he wouldn't die from the pure yang skyfire, he would at least suffer some injuries that would take at least a few months to heal. Brother Chu's strength is indeed not something that I can defeat. I'll take you to see junior sister Luoshi. Yan Hanshi's personality was rather straightforward. A loss was a loss. He didn't give any explanation and directly said to Chu Fengmian, "Follow me," Yan Hanshi said as he pointed his palm. The seal above the Five Spirit Sect Palace turned into an opening. Chu Fengmian followed closely behind and stepped into it. There was another world within the seal. From the outside it looked like a palace. However, after entering, there was a huge valley. There were dozens of palaces in the valley. However, most of the palaces were empty and there were no martial artists in them. Junior sister Luoshi, you should be in the main palace today. I'll take you directly to the main palace. Yan Hanshi pointed at the largest palace in the valley as he walked in front. The disciples of the Five Spirits sect usually cultivate martial arts in the main palace. By the way, Brother Chu, which hall are you from? With your strength, I'm afraid you're either from the Saint Academy sect or the Six Ultimate sect. Yan Hanshi suddenly asked Chu Fengmian curiously. Although he had been in the sacred ground for a long time, he knew a thing or two about the geniuses from the various sects who had hopes of entering the sacred ground. Now that he thought about it, he didn't expect Chu Fengmian to exist. Chu Fengmian seemed to have appeared out of thin air. I'm a disciple of the Holy Dragon sect, Chu Fengmian answered. Holy Dragon sect? Hearing this answer, Yan Hanshi was stunned. Then, he thought quickly and said with a horrified expression, Brother Chu, are you a newcomer to the Holy Dragon sect? There were only a few disciples in the Holy Dragon sect. When someone joined the Holy Dragon sect, it was the topic of discussion in the entire sacred ground. After all, almost every disciple of the Holy Dragon sect had the possibility of becoming Emperor Gu. Even if they didn't enter the sacred ground, their future achievements would be extremely high. For example, Qing Meng had never entered the sacred ground. However, her achievements were much higher than many saints. Yan Hanshi remembered that the only newcomer in the Holy Dragon sect that he didn't know should be this newcomer. A newcomer who had only joined for a few months had already become a saint? It was no wonder that Yan Hanshi was so shocked. One had to know that a newcomer needed more than 20 years to become a saint in the sacred ground. Now, Chu Fengmian had become a saint in just a few months. How could he not be shocked? That's right. Chu Fengmian nodded. It seemed that a newcomer joining the Holy Dragon sect was indeed a big deal. Even the sacred ground had heard about it. However, the news of Chu Fengmian causing a ruckus in the law enforcement hall should not have spread. Otherwise, Yan Hanshi would not be so surprised. After all, Chu Fengmian was the person who had killed the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. With such strength, it was more than enough to join the sacred ground and become a saint. So you're a monster from the Holy Dragon sect. No wonder you're so powerful. The strength that Brother Chu displayed just now was probably less than 30% of your true strength. Yan Hanshi looked at Chu Fengmian and said with a smile. He could also see that Chu Fengmian's fire control was extremely crude. Clearly, he was not an expert who specialized in fire control. What I cultivate is the sword Dao, Chu Fengmian replied. He did not need to hide it. In the sacred ground, hiding one's strength would only make others look down on him. Only by displaying one's strength could one be respected. Sword Dao. Among the 5 Spirits sect saints, there is also an expert in the sword Dao. His name is Tianjianan. Later, we can let him spar with Brother Chu. Yan Hanshi said with a smile. In the sacred ground, saints could spar with each other at will. Hence, many experts would spar with each other. Sure. Chapter 1447. The holy sons of the Holy Lands were all rare geniuses. For example, although Yan Hanxi's strength wasn't as good as Chu Fengmian's, his way of controlling fire was the most mysterious among all the cultivators Chu Fengmian had seen. Chu Fengmian could also learn the way of controlling fire by fighting with Yan Hanxi. It was definitely better to fight with these chosen than to cultivate bitterly. Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanxi chatted along the way as they walked towards the main hall. When they approached the main hall, Yan Hanxi suddenly turned back and said with some difficulty, "Brother Chu, I can take you to see junior sister Luoxi, but if she doesn't want to see you, I can't do anything about it." There were many people pursuing Luoxi, but Yan Hanxi remembered that no one had been able to gain her favor. Originally, they could still talk, but as more and more people came to pursue her, it was difficult to even see her. "It's fine. If she doesn't want to see me, just help me inform her," Chu Fengmian said with a smile. "Oh? Brother Chu really knows junior sister Luoxi?" Hearing this, Yan Hanxi was a little curious. He originally thought that Chu Fengmian was just making up a lie to deceive him. But now, it seemed that Chu Fengmian really did know Luoxi. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such a thing. Yan Hanxi said curiously, "Junior sister Luoxi's origin is incomparably mysterious. Even us senior brothers and sisters do not know where she came from. It seems that Brother Chu was acquainted with her before entering the sacred dragon mystery domain." "That's right." Chu Fengmian nodded and didn't continue speaking. It seemed that Luoxi didn't expose the fact that she came from the 9 regions. Originally, it wasn't a big deal to come from the 9 regions, but now that Chu Fengmian knew more, he knew that it used to be one of the 4 sacred regions. Although it was a fallen sacred region, it was still very attractive to countless geniuses in the entire Daluo star field. Once it was exposed, countless experts would rush in and it would be a catastrophe for the 9 regions. Chu Fengmian was also from the 9 regions, so he naturally didn't want to see that happen. It seemed that Luoxi also knew this, so she didn't reveal her origin. What happened? Just as Chu Fengmian was pondering, Yan Hanxi suddenly exclaimed in surprise. A group of ancient martial art practitioners stood in front of the main hall. The attire of this group of ancient martial art practitioners was completely different from that of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimensions disciples. There was no Holy Dragon Mystery Dimensions identity token on their chests. Instead, the word Lin was engraved on the back of their clothes. The word Lin was carved using a unique method. It was likely that others would not be able to copy it even if they wanted to. How did the disciples of the Qilin Mountain return to our 5 Spirits Palace? Yan Hanxi's eyes revealed a bit of surprise, as if he didn't know what was going on. He had been in seclusion in his own palace all this time. When he saw that the restriction formation was touched, he came out to fight with Chu Fengmian. As for what happened in the main palace, he really didn't know. This group? Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed. He recognized them at a glance. They were the disciples of Qilin Mountain who had entered before Chu Fengmian and Long Qianju. It was the young master in this group who wanted to propose marriage to Luoxi. Now it seemed that the young master and the elder of the 8 calamities, Emperor Gu, were not outside. They had obviously entered the main palace. Just in time. Chu Fengmian's eyes were cold. Propose marriage? Chu Fengmian wanted to see what kind of person dared to propose marriage to his woman. "Let's go." Chu Fengmian's voice was so cold that even Yan Hanxi could hear it. However, Yan Hanxi didn't say anything and followed Chu Fengmian to the main palace. As they approached the 5 Spirits Palace, a few disciples of the Qilin Mountain immediately walked up and looked coldly at Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanxi. "Stop, our young master is proposing marriage to Miss Luoxi. They are discussing marriage. No one is allowed to enter." As they spoke, the group of disciples of the Qilin Mountain had already sealed off the 5 Spirits Palace. This made Yan Hanxi frown. He was a little unhappy. This was the 5 Spirits Palace, the territory of the 5 Spirits sect. As the chosen of the five spirits sect, he was actually blocked outside? Please go back. The Qilin Mountain disciple said coldly when he saw that Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanshi had no intention of retreating. Today's matter concerns the marriage between the sacred dragon mystery dimension and the Qilin Mountain. Do you too want to ruin it? If you know what's good for you, leave quickly. Get lost. Before Chu Fengmian could speak, Yan Hanshi was the first to speak. The four major forces had always been fighting openly and secretly. Now, this group of disciples of the Qilin Mountain was simply riding on the head of the five spirits sect. Courting death? You want to barge in? When the group of Qilin Mountain disciples heard this, they were all enraged. One by one, they activated their spiritual energy. When the leader saw Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanshi's realm, his eyes revealed a bit of disdain. Take them down. Don't let them disturb our young master's business. Yes. Boom. Several disciples of the Qilin Mountain displayed their power and turned it into a cage. They directly enveloped Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanshi and wanted to suppress them. A bunch of trash, how dare you attack me? Chu Fengmian's face darkened. When he fought with Yan Hanshi, Chu Fengmian still had some scruples and would not be ruthless. However, Chu Fengmian had no scruples against this group of disciples of the Qilin Mountain. Moreover, this group of people actually wanted to propose marriage to Luo Shi. They had simply touched Chu Fengmian's reverse scale. Die! Boom! The dragon roared and a battle dragon claw condensed above Chu Fengmian's head. It directly swept towards the group of disciples of the Qilin Mountain. The cage formed by the disciples of the Qilin Mountain was instantly broken. At the same time, the battle dragon claw directly bombarded the bodies of the Qilin Mountain disciples. Boom! The disciple of the Qilin Mountain, who had spoken previously, was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. Under the battle dragon claw, he was directly smashed and turned into a cloud of blood mist. Although the other disciples of the Qilin Mountain were slightly better, they were all seriously injured and fell to the ground. What's going on? Who is it? How dare you attack in the Five Spirits Hall? Swoosh! Swoosh! A few rays of light immediately flew out from the palace. These few people had an identity card with the word Holy on their clothes. They were obviously the Holy Sons of the Holy Dragon's secret territory. Senior Brother Mu Lin, Junior Brother Tsangtu. Seeing the first two rays of light, Yan Hanshi directly spoke. Junior Brother Hanshi? What's going on? What happened? Chapter 1448. This group of Qilin Mountain disciples were all core disciples of Qilin Mountain. Although they were not saints, it was extremely troublesome for them to be injured like this. Senior Brother Mu Lin, this group of people. Before Yan Hanshi could speak, two figures suddenly came out from the main hall. These two figures were the 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu of Qilin Mountain and the young man who was about to propose marriage. The young man's expression changed drastically when he saw the Qilin Mountain disciples lying on the ground and the smell of blood in the air. He said in a gloomy voice, "What's going on? Young Master! Young Master, it's this person who injured us." The Qilin Mountain disciples lying on the ground shouted loudly when they saw the young man, as though he was their savior. At the same time, they pointed at Chu Fengmian. "Kid, who are you? How dare you injure our Qilin Mountain disciples?" The young man stared at Chu Fengmian and said coldly, "Explain yourself. If you don't have a reasonable explanation." Although the young man did not finish his sentence, everyone understood the threat in his words. Explain? A group of Qilin Mountain disciples dare to show off in the sacred ground of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension? Is there a need to explain? I'm already giving Qilin Mountain face by not killing them. Chu Fengmian said indifferently when he heard the young man's threat. As for who I am, you don't have the right to know. This is not a place where you can stay. Take them and get lost. Kid, do you want to die? The young man's face showed some anger when he heard the first sentence. He could no longer hold back his anger when he heard the second sentence. Elder Wang, Capture this arrogant brat and teach him a lesson. Yes. Hearing the young man's words, the 8 Tribulations' ancient emperor beside him nodded his head and stepped forward. He looked at Chu Fengmian and immediately unleashed his spiritual energy. The power of his palm was overwhelming. Elder Wang was much stronger than Yan Hanshi. After all, he was an 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. Rumble! The spiritual power that filled the sky turned into a palm with 10 fingers in the air, oppressing Chu Fengmian. Each finger was like a formation eye, forming a big formation to suppress Chu Fengmian. Young Master Lin Lai. The 5 Spirit Sect's holy son, Mu Lin, who was standing beside Old Wang, also frowned and said when he saw Old Wang take action. He could also tell that Chu Fengmian was a holy son of a holy land. He was most likely a newly promoted holy son. Although Mu Lin did not know Chu Fengmian's identity, Chu Fengmian was still a holy son of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension. If he was suppressed by Elder Wang today, it would not look good for them. Brother Mu Lin, don't worry. Elder Wang knows what he's doing. He's just teaching a little brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson. He won't hurt him. Young Master Lin Lai sneered as he turned to Mu Lin. Let's go. Let's return to the palace and discuss the marriage proposal. Marriage proposal? Even you dare to propose marriage to Luo Shi? Chu Fengmian laughed heartily when he heard Lin Lai's words. Why don't you take a look at yourself? A toad lusting after swan meat? You! Elder Wang, why aren't you doing anything? Seal his mouth first. Lin Lai was furious when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. However, it was not good for him to flare up, so he roared at Elder Wang. Yes. Elder Wang looked at Chu Fengmian and sneered when he heard the order. Little brat, speak less here and you'll suffer less. If you continue, don't blame me for being ruthless. Who do you think you are? An old man, an 8 Calamity Emperor Gu? I've killed more 8 Calamity Emperor Gu than you've seen. How dare a puny Emperor Gu be so arrogant in front of me? Chu Fengmian looked at Elder Wang and sneered disdainfully. Presumptuous! Elder Wang was furious when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. His palm was already above Chu Fengmian's head, and a huge amount of spiritual energy immediately suppressed him. Sword out! Chu Fengmian sneered when he saw the palm was about to fall. The World's Edge sword case appeared behind him and opened. 2 rays of sword light shot up to the sky. Gotcha! The 10 fingers of the palm were all chopped off by the 2 rays of sword light. With a miserable shriek, the 5 fingers on Old Wang's right hand were all chopped off. Blood spurted out from the wound. What? What a powerful sword light! That's the World's Edge sword case behind him? Elder Sword Bone's sword case is in his hands? Who is he? Since when did our sacred dragon Mystery Dimension have such a disciple? The group of 5 Spirits Sect Saints did not pay much attention to the fight between Chu Fengmian and Elder Wang. When they heard the scream, they raised their heads and looked at the sky. They happened to see Elder Wang's right hand being chopped off by Chu Fengmian's sword light. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Elder Wang was a reputable expert in Qilin Mountain. Even Lin Lai respected Elder Wang. Now, Chu Fengmian had chopped off his fingers in one move. This made the 5 Spirit Sects Xingzi take a few more glances at Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's strength was definitely considered strong among the Xingzi. Little bastard! I'm going to kill you! Elder Wang's face was distorted when his 5 fingers were chopped off. He was furious and used all his strength. He saw that Chu Fengmian was just an ant in the Quasi-Emperor realm. He only wanted to use some strength to teach Chu Fengmian a lesson. He did not expect Chu Fengmian to be a real dragon. Shut up! Chu Fengmian shouted coldly and suddenly threw out a palm strike. Old Man Wang's face was slapped and a large mouthful of essence blood spurted out of his mouth. At the same time, the spiritual energy that Elder Wang had just gathered was broken by the slap. A piece of trash like you wants to suppress me? Is Emperor Gu of Qilin Mountain all trash like you? A piece of trash like you doesn't have the qualifications to be on the same level as me. You're more suitable to be my servant. Chu Fengmian's body flashed and appeared behind Elder Wang. He threw out a palm strike at Elder Wang's shoulder. Under this spiritual energy, Elder Wang's body fell down and landed heavily on the ground. Both of his knees were on the ground. Chapter 1449. An ancient emperor, an eight tribulation ancient emperor who was so arrogant just a moment ago. In the blink of an eye, he was kneeling before Chu Fengmian, looking extremely pathetic. The chosen of the five spirits sect were scared out of their wit. This was an eight tribulations Emperor Gu. Among the chosen of the Holy Land, there were many who had the ability to defeat seven tribulations Emperor Gu. However, there were very few who could fight against eight tribulations Emperor Gu. After all, eight tribulations Emperor Gu's strength was 10 times or even dozens of times stronger than seven tribulations Emperor Gu's. The chosen of the Holy Land who had the ability to fight eight tribulations Emperor Gu were considered above average. As for those who could defeat eight tribulations Emperor Gu, they were all well-known figures among the chosen. Or perhaps they were chosen like little Ju Di and little Yi Di, who had received the inheritance of power. As for Chu Fengmian, everyone could see that he wasn't one of those chosen who had received the inheritance of power. Moreover, he looked like a newcomer. His strength, which could defeat eight tribulations Emperor Gu in 2 or 3 moves, could no longer be considered with common sense. It was as if eight tribulations Emperor Gu was as weak as an ant in Chu Fengmian's hands. Yan Hanshi, who had fought Chu Fengmian before, was extremely pale. Such strength was definitely 10 times stronger than his. If Chu Fengmian had wanted to, he could have killed him in 1 move. He was already being merciful by exchanging a few moves with him. Stop! Let go of Elder Wang! Lin Lai roared when he saw Elder Wang kneeling on the ground and being firmly suppressed by Chu Fengmian. Kid, are you trying to start a war between Qi Linshan and the Sacred Dragon's secret territory? Let go of Elder Wang. Apologize. Start a war? Qi Linshan is trash. I can deal with him alone. Who do you think you are? Chu Fengmian sneered when he heard Lin Lai's words. Luoxi is my woman. How dare you propose marriage to her? You're courting death. You kneel. Boom. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and a wave of spiritual energy suppressed young Master Lin Lai. Young Master Lin Lai's realm was only that of the 7 calamities Emperor Gu. Even Elder Wang was no match for him. The moment he was struck by Chu Fengmian's palm, his face turned deathly pale. He was instantly subdued and his knees went soft. He knelt on the ground. 1 move. Just 1 move and Lin Lai was defeated, causing him to kneel on the ground. This kind of strength stunned the group of 5 spirits sect disciples for a moment. They were speechless for a long time. Young Master Lin Lai was equivalent to a disciple of the Holy Dragon's Secret Dimension's Holy Sun in the Qi Lin Mountain. He was definitely a genius among geniuses. But now, he was being toyed with by Chu Fengmian like this, kneeling directly on the ground. You actually want me to kneel? I am the Holy Sun of the Qi Lin Mountain. My status is extraordinary and I represent the face of the Qi Lin Mountain. Kid, what you did today is provoking the entire Qi Lin Mountain. Young Master Lin Lai, who was kneeling on the ground, was still unconvinced as he roared loudly. Today, you're no longer someone who can be settled with just an apology. He had to personally go to Qilin Mountain and kneel down to apologize. Quickly let me go. Otherwise, Qilin Mountain will never let you go. You still dare to spout nonsense. Hearing young Master Lin Lai's words, Chu Fengmian's eyes were filled with murderous intent. This young Master Lin Lai really wouldn't shed a tear until he saw the coffin. His incessant chatter made Chu Fengmian irritated. In the palm of Chu Fengmian's hand, a wave of spiritual energy was gradually condensing. Brother Chu, please have mercy. Mu Lin was the first to react. He hurriedly said to Chu Fengmian, afraid that Chu Fengmian would attack again. This time, Chu Fengmian had defeated young Master Lin Lai and Elder Wang and made them kneel. This was already a big deal. If Chu Fengmian killed them, it would really start a war between the Qi Lin Mountain and the Holy Dragon Secret Dimension. I won't kill him, but I have to make him shut up. Chu Fengmian coldly snorted and slapped young Master Lin Lai's face. Immediately, the tongue in his mouth was shattered. With a puff, he spat out a large mouthful of blood. At the same time, Chu Fengmian also left a seal in young Master Lin Lai's mouth. No matter how strong young Master Lin Lai's vitality was, he would not be able to reform his broken tongue. Right now, young Master Lin Lai could still make muffled sounds, but he couldn't utter a single word. Whoa! Young Master Lin Lai stammered and could not say a word. He just knelt on the ground, but the hatred in his eyes did not diminish. Brother Chu's strength is admirable. Mu Lin looked at Chu Fengmian and said slowly. At this moment, a huge wave was set off in his heart. Even in his dreams, he did not expect Chu Fengmian to have such terrifying strength. An 8 Tribulation Emperor Gu and a saint of Qilin Mountain were defeated like ants in front of Chu Fengmian. They were all toyed with in the palm of his hand. With such strength, Chu Fengmian would be considered one of the best even among the saints in the entire sacred ground. What made Mu Lin even more incredulous was that he had secretly asked Yan Hanshi about Chu Fengmian's identity. This was a newcomer. A newcomer who had just joined the Sacred Dragon Adversity had been promoted to a saint in just 3 months. Now, a newly promoted saint had such terrifying strength. This made these old people feel that they had wasted their lives. Mu Lin looked at Chu Fengmian. He simply could not see through Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian gave him an unfathomable feeling. It was as if Chu Fengmian did not use his full strength when he defeated Elder Wang and young Master Lin Lai. Brother Chu, you said that you are junior sister Luoxi's Dao companion? Mu Lin suddenly thought of Chu Fengmian's words and asked in disbelief. Yes, Luoxi is my Dao companion. I came to the sacred ground this time to look for her. Chu Fengmian nodded. I didn't expect to meet such a reckless guy. He actually dares to propose marriage to Luoxi? He's simply courting death. I'll spare their lives today, but the death penalty is unavoidable. They can't escape punishment. Chu Fengmian turned his head and said to Yan Hanshi, Brother Yan, can you do me a favor? Take the 2 of them outside and tell the others what will happen to those who dare to have designs on Luoxi. It's a piece of cake. Upon hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Yan Hanshi grabbed Elder Wang and young Master Lin Lai with both hands and dragged them out of the 5 Spirits Hall like 2 dead dogs. He made them kneel in front of the 5 Spirits Hall. Chapter 1450. Elder Wang and Lin Lai were thrown out of the 5 Spirits sect like dead dogs. Many people from the Holy Lands gathered around and looked at Elder Wang and Lin Lai, who were kneeling on the ground. They were shocked as they discussed among themselves. That's Elder Wang from the Qilin Mountain? And that's Lin Lai? Didn't they come to the 5 Spirits sect to propose marriage? They were thrown out. Not only were they thrown out, but they are kneeling in front of the 5 Spirits sect. Who did this? There's someone in the 5 Spirits sect who has such strength? These 2 are big shots from the Qilin Mountain. Who has the guts to do this? Let's go. Since it's done by the 5 Spirits sect, it has nothing to do with us. These 2 were so arrogant when they came to the Holy Lands. I didn't expect them to be such trash. Looking at the kneeling young Master Lin Lai and old Wang, the corners of many chosen's mouths curled up in mockery. The 4 major forces were hostile to each other, although they hadn't fallen out with each other. But now, seeing young Master Lin Lai and Elder Wang being humiliated, to them, it was an incomparably satisfying thing. Brother Chu, should we let them go? If we let them kneel here, I'm afraid the Qilin Mountain won't let this go. Mu Lin listened to the discussion outside and whispered to Chu Fengmian. It's okay. If the Qilin Mountain dares to come, just say it's done by me. Since they dared to provoke my woman, I'm already giving them face by letting them kneel here. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and said disapprovingly, He wanted to show his power today. Of course, no one would let these two go. By the way, where is Luoshi now? She's in seclusion in the main hall, Mu Lin said hurriedly. Seeing that his persuasion was ineffective, he didn't say anything else. Lin Lai and Elder Wang had been arrogant ever since they came. Even he couldn't stand it. Now that Chu Fengmian had taught them a lesson, he didn't intend to stop Chu Fengmian. At least for warriors of their level, it was a small matter as long as they didn't kill anyone. Let's go. Bring me to Luoshi. Chu Fengmian looked at Mu Lin and said, Let's go. With a flash, Mu Lin walked in front of Chu Fengmian and stepped into the main hall. The main hall was also covered with countless restrictive formations. Even the 8 tribulations Emperor Gu could not break through them. Chu Fengmian followed Mu Lin. They passed through countless restrictions and finally arrived at the main palace. Senior brother Mu Lin, you're back? A few holy sons of the 5 spirits sect seemed to be having a discussion in the main hall. When they saw Mu Lin's arrival, they all stood up. What about young Master Lin Lai and Elder Wang? They were discussing some matters in the main hall when Mu Lin, young Master Lin Lai, Elder Wang, and the others suddenly rushed out. But now, only Mu Lin had returned. The two of them have offended Brother Chu. As such, they've been punished to kneel before the 5 spirits hall. Mu Lin turned to Chu Fengmian and said, This is Brother Chu, the new holy son, Chu Fengmian. He's a guest of our 5 spirits hall and also junior sister Luo Shi's Dao companion. What? Mr. Lin Lai and Elder Wang are kneeling before the 5 spirits hall? What's going on? Junior sister Luo Shi's Dao companion? Hearing Mu Lin's words, many of the 5 spirits sect disciples were stunned and said in disbelief. Their minds were in a mess. They did not expect so many things to happen in such a short period of time. They could not help but look at Chu Fengmian and size him up. They wanted to see what kind of person Luo Shi's Dao companion was. After Luo Shi came to the sacred dragon mystery dimension, she was pursued by countless geniuses. However, Luo Shi had always claimed that she already had a Dao companion. Originally, everyone thought that Luo Shi was just making excuses. They did not expect her to really come. Everyone must be Luo Shi's senior brothers and junior sisters. Thank you for taking care of Luo Shi during this period of time. This is a small gift to show my respect. Chu Fengmian looked at the 7 or 8 holy sons of the 5 spirits sect and moved his palm. Suddenly, 7 or 8 jade bottles appeared and flew towards a 5 spirits sect disciple. Seeing the jade bottles flying out, the holy sons of the 5 spirits sect hesitated. Brother Chu, we're all family. You don't have to be so polite. Mu Lin looked at Chu Fengmian and said. Chu Fengmian's strength was definitely one of the most monstrous geniuses he had ever seen. Although he had not received the power inheritance, he was not inferior to little Ju Di, who had received the power inheritance. With such talent, Chu Fengmian's future achievements were simply limitless. Especially since Chu Fengmian was Luo Shi's Dao companion, Mu Lin had the intention to rope him in. He did not expect him to take the initiative to give a gift. It's just a small gift. It's not worth mentioning, Chu Fengmian said with a smile. All right then. Thank you, Brother Chu. Hearing this, the holy sons of the 5 spirits sect accepted the jade bottles. One of the 5 spirits sect disciples opened the jade bottle curiously and took a closer look. In the jade bottle, there was a green elixir pill the size of a longan. In an instant, a fragrant medicinal fragrance wafted out from the jade bottle. Earth Emperor Elixir? This is an Earth Emperor Elixir? The 5 spirits sect's disciple could not believe his eyes for a moment and shouted in shock. What? Earth Emperor Elixir? The holy sons of the 5 spirits sect who had not opened their jade bottles hurriedly opened them. A green elixir pill the size of a longan was reflected in their eyes. This Earth Emperor Elixir was considered a substandard product of the primitive Emperor Elixir. It was far from being comparable to the primitive Emperor Elixir. However, it was enough to increase the chances of an expert at the level of Emperor Gu by 10%. 4 true emperors below the level of Emperor Gu, an Earth Emperor elixir was almost 100% chance of increasing their cultivation by 1 level. Although this elixir was not as precious as the primitive Emperor elixir, it was still at the level of an ancient sacred elixir. If placed outside, each of them would be priceless. For a moment, the holy sons of the Five Spirits sect did not dare to accept it. This gift was too precious for them. It's just a small elixir. It's not worth mentioning. Chu Fengmian looked at the crowd and said with a smile. He had obtained hundreds of sacred elixirs from the treasury of the 9 mystic immortal sovereign. Almost all of them were ancient sacred elixirs. Giving away such a small amount was nothing to Chu Fengmian. Thank you, Brother Chu. The holy sons of the Five Spirits sect accepted the elixir and thanked Chu Fengmian. Brother Chu, junior sister Luo Shi is inside. I'll help you call her. Chapter 1451. There's no need to trouble all of you. Chu Fengmian smiled and pointed his palm. Suddenly, a surge of sword intent soared into the sky. Under this surge of sword intent, a group of dragons roared. The entire Five Spirits Hall was filled with dragon roars. In the deepest part of the Five Spirits Hall, a lady was sitting cross-legged. Behind her, a void appeared. It was gray and blurry. It was as if she had arrived at the most ancient chaotic era. The power of the heavens and earth shrouded the lady and was being devoured bit by bit. With every bit of power of the heavens and earth she devoured, the aura of the lady grew stronger. Although this lady was only a 7 tribulation ancient emperor, the power that she exuded gave off an unfathomable feeling. It was extremely unique. It was as if it was completely different from any other power in the world. The profoundness of it was unfathomable. In her embrace, there was a round demonic beast with snow-white fur. It was taking a nap in the lady's embrace. However, the round demonic beast was even more frightening than the lady. Every time it breathed, it was taking in the surrounding chaotic aura. This was the most ancient and uncontrollable power. However, the round demonic beast was taking in the chaotic aura while it was taking a nap. The lady and the demonic beast were cultivating. Suddenly, the lady opened her eyes. What's going on? The lady felt the vibration of the Five Spirits Hall and was immediately awakened. The chaotic aura behind her began to dissipate. Sword intent, dragon roar? This is? Suddenly, the lady opened her eyes. Her eyes were filled with joy. In a flash, she left the Five Spirits Hall. In the Five Spirits Hall, the group of Five Spirits sect saints were puzzled by Chu Fengmian's actions. Brother Chu, what are you doing? Before Mu Lin could finish his words, a beam of light rushed over. It was a lady. The lady's smile was extremely charming. Anyone who saw it would be completely captivated and lost in it. Why have you come to the sacred ground? The moment the lady saw Chu Fengmian, her body flashed and she appeared in front of Chu Fengmian. She threw herself into Chu Fengmian's embrace. Luo Shi sounded very surprised. Ever since she had come to the sacred land, she had been looking for news about Chu Fengmian. However, he had been empty-handed all this while. Who would have thought that he would see it in the Holy Land today? It's true. This person really is junior sister Luo Shi's Dao companion. The group of Five Spirit sect Shengzis finally believed Chu Fengmian's words when they saw Luo Shi throw herself into Chu Fengmian's arms. Although Luo Shi had many suitors since coming to the Holy Dragon mystic realm, she had never done such a thing to that man. Of course I'm here to look for you. Chu Fengmian looked at Luo Shi and smiled. Luo Shi's current strength was completely different from when she was in the 9 domains. She had already stepped into the realm of the 7 calamities Emperor Gu. Moreover, Chu Fengmian could tell that Luo Shi had stepped from the quasi-emperor realm to the 7 tribulations Emperor Gu, becoming the peerless Emperor Gu. Once he became the peerless Emperor Gu, there was a great chance that he could step into the half-step celestial realm, or even break through to the true celestial realm. Puff! On Luo Shi's shoulder, Little Nine suddenly ran out and glanced at Chu Fengmian. He jumped onto Chu Fengmian's head and sized up Chu Fengmian with his small eyes as if he was observing Chu Fengmian. Little guy, long time no see. Chu Fengmian looked at Little Nine and smiled as he stroked Little Nine's fur. During this period, Little Nine's appearance did not change at all. However, Chu Fengmian could clearly feel that the power in Little Nine's body was bottomless. Little Nine was still a little immature before, like a child. Now, Little Nine could be considered a young man. Especially the power in his body, Chu Fengmian could not see through it immediately. This speed of growth indeed made Chu Fengmian sigh at the power of the bloodline. Senior brothers, this is my Dao companion, Chu Fengmian. Luo Shi came back to her senses after a long time. She blushed and said to the group of 5 spirit sect Shengzis, "These senior brothers have been very good to me in the 5 spirit sect. They have always protected me. We're all from the same sect. It's nothing." Mu Lin chuckled and said, "We won't disturb the reunion of the 2 of you. Everyone, please leave." Swoosh. The 5 spirit sect Shengzis in the main hall left one after another, leaving only Chu Fengmian and Luo Shi. "Let's go. This is not the place to talk. Let's go to my palace," Luo Shi said to Chu Fengmian after everyone left. The 2 of them had great secrets on them. Naturally, they had to be careful. 2 streaks of light came to a palace in the 5 spirit hall. This was Luo Shi's own palace. The restrictions inside were set by Luo Shi herself. Other people, including the 5 spirit sect Shengzis, were not qualified to enter without permission. "Chu Fengmian, where did you go previously? Why couldn't we find you?" Luo Shi asked hurriedly as soon as she stepped into the palace. She and Han Yueli had been looking for Chu Fengmian ever since they arrived at the Sacred Dragon Mystery Land and settled down. However, they did not find anything. After all, the Sacred Dragon Mystery Land controlled hundreds of continents. Among the hundreds of continents there were billions or even tens of billions of martial artists on each continent. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack to find a person based on his name. "I landed on the ancient monster continent." Chu Fengmian recounted his journey and the various things that had happened. "The ancient monster continent is a grade 7 continent. I didn't expect you to land there." After listening carefully, Luo Shi sighed. "It seems that the 2 of us were lucky to land in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Land. Later, the 5 spirit sect master thought highly of us and made an exception to accept us as disciples of the 5 spirit sect. Then, we were promoted to Shengzis." Compared to Chu Fengmian, who had to come to the Sacred Dragon Mystery Land slowly from the ancient monster continent to the sacred ground, Luo Shi and Han Yueli were much simpler. "Is there any danger in the sacred ground? I see that many people are plotting something against you." Chu Fengmian looked at Luo Shi with killing intent in his eyes. "What's going on?" Chu Fengmian bumped into Lin Lai as soon as he arrived. Clearly, Lin Lai was not the only person plotting against Luo Shi. "It's all right. Although it's a little troublesome, it's not too dangerous." Luo Shi sighed after hearing Chu Fengmian's words. Chapter 1452. Little Nine. Chu Fengmian looked at the little guy lying in Luo Shi's arms and his eyes flashed with surprise. "Take a look at my bloodline." Luo Shi looked at Chu Fengmian and said slowly, "Bloodline." Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed as he carefully checked Luo Shi's bloodline. He realized that Luo Shi's strength was completely different from before. Luo Shi used to cultivate the Charm Demon sect of the 6 Demon sect. It was a pure demonic technique. But now, Luo Shi's strength was incomparably ancient. It was the most ancient type of energy that existed before the creation of heaven and earth. This energy made Chu Fengmian's bloodline power boil. Innate divine beast bloodline? Chu Fengmian carefully observed Luo Shi's bloodline. After confirming it, he was shocked. This is Little Nine's bloodline power? This bloodline power came from the same source as Little Nine's strength. "You little guy." Chu Fengmian looked at Little Nine with anger in his eyes. He had looked for Little Nine before to ask for a drop of essence blood to transform his bloodline into an innate divine beast bloodline. But Little Nine refused to give it to him. Now, he gave it to Luoshi. And this wasn't an ordinary innate divine beast bloodline. At the very least, it took a lot of essence blood to shape it. Although Chu Fengmian's bloodline power was condensed from the essence blood of an innate divine beast, it wasn't much stronger than Luoshi's. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Little Nine turned his head away with a look of disdain and pride. Forget it. Chu Fengmian smiled. After all, Luoshi was the one who got the bloodline power. There wasn't much difference between her and Chu Fengmian. Those who proposed marriage to me are mostly here for the bloodline power. Luoshi said. For a genius expert like Emperor Gu, he could have as many women as he wanted. With his strength, he could become the ruler of a continent. Naturally, he didn't lack women. Luoshi's appearance was one thing, but what really attracted the geniuses of the four great powers to propose marriage to Luoshi was Little Nine's bloodline power. In the various major powers, there were also unique dual cultivation techniques that could allow the female to become the furnace top, depriving the other of all their fortuitous encounters, bloodline power, and strength. It wasn't too late for Chu Fengmian to use such methods, but those people might not. Luckily, I have Little Jiu's help. He has helped me resolve many problems. Also, the seniors of the Five Spirits sect have protected me and helped me a lot. Luoshi's eyes flashed with worry. However, there are a few troublesome characters among them. The reason why I've been in seclusion in the Holy Land and haven't left is to avoid them. Troublesome character? Who is it? Chu Fengmian's gaze was incomparably cold. His current strength was enough to kill the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. He might even be able to hold his own against the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. With such strength, there was no need for him to endure any longer. Chu Fengmian would kill anyone who dared to have designs on Luoshi. One of them is the Prince of Luo River from the Shanghai capital. His strength has reached the peak of the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. He's very difficult to deal with and his background is extremely high. His father is the Luo River Emperor Gu, a true 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu of the Shanghai capital. This person has come to propose marriage to me countless times, but I've rejected him every time. Last time, he even asked several elders of the Shanghai capital to accompany him. After that, I've been in the Five Spirits Hall of the Holy Land, refusing to see anyone. Prince of Luo River? Chu Fengmian had never heard of this name. However, Chu Fengmian roughly understood that there were hidden strengths among the 4 great powers, just like the Holy Land in the Sacred Dragon secret domain. There were similar places among the other 3 great powers. The outside world didn't know much about the geniuses there, so they weren't counted on the All-Heaven Genius ranking. However, these people were the true geniuses and the pillars of the 4 great powers. It doesn't matter if he's the Prince of Luo River or not. When I meet him, I'll definitely kill him. Murderous intent surged in Chu Fengmian's eyes. From the impatience in Luoshi's words, Chu Fengmian knew that the Prince of Luo River had pestered Luoshi more than once. Such a person couldn't be left alive. Chu Fengmian had already memorized this person's name in his heart and was thinking about how to kill him. Not to mention that the Prince of Luo River's father was a 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Even if his father was a half-step celestial being, Chu Fengmian would have no qualms about killing him. Who else? Chu Fengmian asked. There's also the Zhong Emperor of the Avalon of 5 Elements. He's a quasi-emperor, but his strength isn't below that of the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. It's said that he once obtained an incomparably ancient bronze bell and obtained great fortune from it. Zhong Emperor? It was another unfamiliar name, but this person was also on Chu Fengmian's must-kill list. Once he encountered him, Chu Fengmian wouldn't show any mercy. Apart from these 2 people, the others are just some small fries. Luoshi said. However, the young sect master of the Sacred Academy sect in the Sacred Dragon secret domain, Wu Dao, has been targeting me and Yueli. It's said that he's targeting Little Nine. Wu Dao? The second on the Great Luo Genius list, Wu Dao? Chu Fengmian had suddenly heard of this name. The second on the Great Luo Genius list was the young sect master of the Sacred Academy sect, Wu Dao. However, because Chu Fengmian already knew about the relationship between the sacred grounds, he didn't put the people on the Great Luo Genius list in his eyes. But now that he heard Luo Shi's words, since even she found it troublesome, Wu Dao was definitely an incomparably difficult person to deal with. After all, although Luo Shi's current realm was at the level of the Seven Tribulations Emperor Gu, her true strength had probably reached the level of the Eight Tribulations Emperor Gu. Ordinary Emperor Gu wasn't much trouble for Luo Shi. However, it's him. However, Wu Dao's strength has always been hidden deeply. Outsiders only think that his realm is around the level of the Seven Tribulations Emperor Gu, but I've fought with him before. His strength is above mine. As Luo Shi spoke, there was a solemn expression in her eyes. Compared to the other two, Wu Dao is more dangerous because he's the young sect master of the Sacred Academy sect. In the Sacred Dragon secret domain, the Sacred Academy sect's status is higher than our Five Spirits sect. They also have more experts, so it's extremely troublesome to make an enemy out of him. No choice. What Sacred Academy sect? What young sect master? I'll kill him sooner or later. Murderous intent flashed in Chu Fengmian's eyes. Suddenly, a jade bottle flew out from Chu Fengmian's palm and flew towards Luo Shi. Chapter 1453. This is... Luo Shi opened the jade bottle and immediately felt a pure medicinal essence. This medicinal essence alone was enough to prove that the elixir in the jade bottle was definitely a high-grade sage elixir. This is a primitive emperor elixir. If you swallow it now, you have an 80% chance of stepping into the realm of 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian said. Luo Shi's current strength had already reached the level of 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. If she refined this primitive emperor elixir, her strength would improve further. Even if she couldn't reach the level of 9th Tribulation Emperor Gu, she would be able to reach the peak of 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. Han Yueli's strength wasn't much weaker than Luo Shi's. By then, the people around Chu Fengmian would be a force to be reckoned with in the Sacred Dragon secret realm. By then, whether it was 6 Ultimate sect or Sacred Academy sect, they would have to think twice before dealing with him. Primitive Emperor Elixir. Luo Shi looked at the elixir in her hand and was shocked. Although she hadn't seen this primitive Emperor elixir before, its name was like thunder to her ears. Basically, for 7th Tribulation Emperor Gu and 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu, the primitive Emperor elixir was something they wanted the most. It was enough to raise Emperor Gu's cultivation level. Even though Luo Shi had the innate divine beast bloodline, it was several times more difficult for her to break through compared to ordinary cultivators. However, if Luo Shi refined this primitive Emperor elixir, she would be 80% prepared to break through. Take the elixir and I will help you break through to 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and set up countless formations and restrictions above the palace. The tribulation lightning caused by Emperor Gu's breakthrough was far from the true Emperor realm. Even Chu Fengmian didn't dare to underestimate it. All right. Luo Shi waved her hand and suddenly grabbed the elixir and swallowed it. She immediately activated her cultivation technique to refine the power of the primitive Emperor elixir. There was a loud boom. An incomparably large amount of spiritual energy was emitted from Luo Shi's body. Behind her, the spiritual energy suddenly turned into nothingness and turned into chaos. Chaos Gate. Open. As Luo Shi shouted, an ancient door appeared in the void. This was an extremely ancient door that contained the most ancient power in the world. Endless chaotic aura gushed out of the ancient door and began to merge with Luo Shi's body. Luo Shi's strength increased by a few notches with every wave of primal chaos aura she absorbed. Within Luo Shi's body, the medicinal power of the primitive Emperor Pill was enough to support Luo Shi to summon the primal chaos aura endlessly from the ancient door. All of a sudden, Luo Shi's power seemed to reach a critical point. She leapt into the peak realm of the seven tribulations Emperor Gu. A total of 2,000 sky and earth nomological laws flew out of Luo Shi's body. These sky and earth nomological laws were also stained with a chaotic aura and were completely different from the sky and earth nomological laws of other people. I'm going to start leveling up. Chu Fengmian could sense that less than 30% of the original Emperor Pill's medicinal effects had been used to raise Luo Shi's cultivation level to the peak of the seven tribulations Emperor Gu. It was indeed worthy of being called the most perfect breakthrough pill for Emperor Gu. The medicinal effects were so strong that it exceeded Chu Fengmian's expectations. 1. Endless chaotic aura surrounded Luo Shi's body. Her strength had already reached its limit and the chaotic aura could no longer be contained within her body. However, the primal chaos door behind Luo Shi did not stop. Instead, it pulled out even more chaotic aura at an even faster pace. Thousands of Dao, tens of thousands of Dao. The entire palace turned into chaos. As the chaotic aura increased, a bolt of tribulation lightning suddenly condensed above Luo Shi's head. The tribulation lightning had arrived. The power within Luo Shi's body was also starting to break through to the 8 tribulations Emperor Gu's realm. A massive tribulation lightning descended from the sky above the 5 spirits' hall. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, attracting the attention of countless saints. Someone broke through? The power of this tribulation lightning is at least at the level of Emperor Gu. That's in the direction of the 5 spirits' hall. Who's there? The entire sacred ground was alarmed by this tribulation lightning. Countless saints were talking among themselves, discussing who it was that had drawn out the tribulation lightning. The 5 spirits' hall was in a state of chaos. This tribulation lightning is coming from junior sister Luo Shi's direction. Junior sister Luo Shi is undergoing tribulation? The group of 5 spirits sect saints were shocked. Others might not know, but they knew that Luo Shi had not even been a month or 2 away from becoming a 7 tribulations Emperor Gu. It was already difficult for her to stabilize her realm within this short period of time, let alone to advance further. Let's leave the 5 spirits' hall first. Otherwise, we will be in trouble if we are affected by the tribulation lightning. Mu Lin looked in the direction of the palace and said. Then, a ray of light flew out of the 5 spirits' hall, not daring to go near it. The remaining saints of the 5 spirits sect also flew away. Once they were affected by the tribulation lightning, they would be doomed eternally. No one dared to go near it. The tribulation lightning is about to be completed. Chu Fengmian looked at the sky and said slowly, Boom! Just as Chu Fengmian spoke, a pitch-black tribulation lightning struck down from the thunderclouds. The entire 5 spirits' hall shook violently. Countless seals were smashed into smithereens at this moment. This lightning tribulation was directed towards Luo Shi. Chaotic 5 elements. 5 elements divine light. Boom! Luo Shi suddenly opened her eyes. Balls of chaotic aura started to gather in her palms. Within the chaotic aura, there was a 5-colored radiance. It was the power of the 5 elements. The 5 elements' divine light collided with the tribulation lightning in the sky. Crack! The pitch-black tribulation lightning was shattered. However, even more tribulation lightning bolts came one after another, bombarding Luo Shi's body without any signs of stopping. The primal chaos gate behind Luo Shi immediately flew out and absorbed all the tribulation lightning that struck her body. In half an hour's time, the 81 tribulation lightning had been neutralized. When all 81 tribulation lightning were blocked, dazzling golden radiance flew out from Luo Shi's body from the surrounding chaotic aura. Every dazzling golden radiance was the law of heaven and earth. the law of heaven and earth condensed from the chaotic aura and integrated into Luo Shi's body. There were more than 500 of these law of heaven and earth that integrated into Luo Shi's body. Suddenly, Luo Shi's power was 10 times stronger than before. Chapter 1454. Eighth Tribulation Emperor Gu. Luo Shi had officially stepped into the realm of Eighth Tribulation Emperor Gu with the condensation of these 500 laws of heaven and earth. Although she had just stepped into the realm of Eighth Tribulation Emperor Gu, Luo Shi's current strength was not inferior to any of the veteran Eighth Tribulation Emperor Gu. His aura was even stronger than the Blood God Ancient Emperor, Great Elder Heichen, and the others. He had already reached the peak of the Eight Tribulation Ancient Emperor realm. Chu Fengmian knew that it would not be easy to take Luo Shi down with his current strength. Of course, Luo Shi was still inferior to the real Ninth Tribulation Emperor Gu, which made Chu Fengmian feel a little regretful. Ninth Tribulation Emperor Gu was indeed an insurmountable mountain. For example, Luo Shi had the strength of Eighth Tribulation Emperor Gu when she was still a Seventh Tribulation Emperor Gu. However, she had now stepped into the realm of Eighth Tribulation Emperor Gu. Her true strength was still at the peak of Eighth Tribulation Emperor Gu. Compared to the real Ninth Tribulation Emperor Gu, there was still a big gap. However, with Luo Shi's current strength, she might be able to withstand a few blows from Ninth Tribulation Emperor Gu. It was impossible for her to defeat him, but with Chu Fengmian, it would not be difficult for her to escape unscathed. I have finally stepped into the realm of Eighth Tribulation Emperor Gu. Luo Shi slowly opened her eyes and her expression was one of incomparable joy. We can go look for Yueli now. Where did Yueli go? Chu Fengmian was stunned when he heard this. From what he knew, Luo Shi and Han Yueli should be in the Holy Land. However, Chu Fengmian had only seen Luo Shi on this trip. Yueli has already gone to the 9 regions. Luo Shi's face suddenly turned serious. The Daluo star field has already known about the 9 regions. Many forces are already preparing to head to the 9 regions to search for treasures. Luo Shi rushed to the 9 regions a week ago. As for me, I originally wanted to go after her, but I did not expect to be targeted by the Saint Academy sect. I can't get away. Now that you and I have joined forces, we can rush out directly. The Saint Academy sect cannot stop us. Hearing all this, Chu Fengmian's expression became incomparably solemn. 9 regions? Discovered? Chu Fengmian now knew that the 9 domains, which used to be one of the 4 saint domains, would be enough to make the entire Daluotian star domain go crazy if they were discovered. It was just like the treasures in the 9 domains. Regardless of whether it was the House of Storms or the Sinkhole Realm, Chu Fengmian's current experience was enough to tell that they were all priceless treasures. Even the famous treasures in the entire Daluo star field weren't inferior to it. Moreover, there were a lot of treasures. The treasures of the 9 regions were even more numerous than the entire Daluo star field. Chu Fengmian couldn't even begin to imagine how many treasures there were in the ruins of End alone. Once the 9 regions were discovered, it would be a catastrophe for the 9 regions. Chu Fengmian did not expect to be exposed so quickly. Chu Fengmian and the others could leave the 9 regions by chance. It was inevitable that someone would step into the 9 regions by chance. Chu Fengmian was extremely anxious when he thought of this. For example, the Cloud Feather Palace and many people that Chu Fengmian knew were still in the 9 regions. With the current strength of the 9 regions, it was simply a drop in the bucket against the entire Daluo star field. With the strength of the 9 regions, they would not be able to withstand this catastrophe. Stabilize your realm first. Once it has stabilized, we will set off for the 9 regions. Although Chu Fengmian was anxious, he quickly calmed down. Before heading to the 9 regions, he had to consolidate his strength. As one of the 4 regions, the countless treasures in the 9 regions would not only attract the attention of the 7 Tribulations Emperor Gu and the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. It was even possible that the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu would head to the 9 regions. After all, judging from the treasures of Venerable Kanglan, there were heavenly beings in the 9 regions. The treasures of these heavenly beings were extremely attractive to the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Now that Chu Fengmian had returned from the 9 mystic celestial sovereigns' cave, he had obtained a lot of fortuitous encounters, but he had not stabilized his realm yet. Luo Shi had also just stepped into the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Her realm was unstable and needed to consolidate it. With their strength, once they stabilized their realm, they would be able to fight against the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Luo Shi nodded when she heard Chu Fengmian's words. She sat on the ground and began to consolidate her realm. Chu Fengmian also sat on the ground. In his mind, the 9 mystic immortal art was opened. He wanted to comprehend the 4th style of the 9 mystic immortal art, Tianji. The last 4 styles of the 9 mystic immortal art were Tianji, 7 Kill, Tuo Luo, and Army Destroyer. The last 4 styles were different from the first 3. They were all created by the 9 mystic immortal venerable after he stepped into the heavenly being realm. The 4th style, Tianji, was dozens of times more mysterious than the first 3. Chu Fengmian originally planned to comprehend it after he stepped into the Emperor realm. However, after fighting with the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, Chu Fengmian also deeply understood the strength of the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. If he wanted to fight against the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, only the 9 mystic immortal art could achieve great results. Suddenly, a nebula appeared in Chu Fengmian's mind. The 9 mystic immortal art was created by the 9 mystic immortal venerable with the Tao of stars. Chu Fengmian carefully comprehended it. His comprehension of the martial Tao was stronger than that of the 9 mystic immortal venerable when he was a half-step into the heavenly being realm. Although the last 4 styles were comprehended by the 9 mystic immortal venerable when he was in the heavenly being realm, it didn't mean that he couldn't comprehend them. Behind Chu Fengmian, waves of spiritual energy turned into a star chart. Stars twinkled. The power contained in the nebula was almost unimaginable. The immortal art created from it was almost unimaginable. One day and one night, the nebula behind Chu Fengmian grew denser and denser. One could vaguely see a sword light piercing through the nebula. The 9 mystic sword art. Chu Fengmian didn't just want to comprehend the 9 mystic immortal art. He also wanted to integrate it into his 9 realms sword art. The 9 mystic sword art was the most revealing chapter of the 9 realms sword art. It was also the most powerful chapter. The 4th page of the 9 mystic sword art was slowly condensing. Finally, it was condensed at this moment. The 4th style of the 9 mystic sword art, Heaven's Secret, was completed. It's finally done. Chu Fengmian opened his eyes, finally showing some joy on his face. The 4th style of the 9 mystic immortal art was much more difficult to comprehend than the first 3 styles. If Chu Fengmian hadn't comprehended it when he fought the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, he wouldn't have been able to comprehend it so quickly. The new sword art created from the 4th style of the 9 mystic immortal art was also unimaginably powerful. Chapter 1455. The 9 mystic celestial sovereign was a genius on the martial path. He might not be the most powerful heavenly being, but the 9 mystic celestial technique he created was more powerful than many famous celestial techniques. Even though Chu Fengmian was only a quasi-emperor now, once he used it, the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, and even a half-step heavenly being would not dare to underestimate this sword. Of course, with Chu Fengmian's strength, he could only use it once. Only the power to kill in one blow could be used as a trump card. But it was enough. A quasi-emperor had a trump card that even the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu was wary of. If this news were to spread, it would make countless experts go crazy. Chu Fengmian opened his eyes and looked in Luo Shi's direction. Luo Shi's aura was now much more stable. Although it seemed that her strength was a little weaker than when she had just broken through, Her foundation was at least 20% stronger than when she had just broken through. She felt Chu Fengmian's gaze. Luo Shi also stopped cultivating, slowly opened her eyes, and stood up. Her current realm had already stabilized. There was not much use in continuing to cultivate. The remaining strength that had not yet stabilized could only be completely stabilized through repeated battles. Without experiencing countless battles, no matter how powerful one's strength was, it would be useless if they couldn't display it. Let's go to the 9 regions, Chu Fengmian said. Chu Fengmian's original plan was to cultivate in the sacred land for a while, but now it seemed that there was no time for that. Once the 9 regions were exposed, there would be a storm of blood. Han Yueli grew up in the cold snow pavilion of the Wuxing nation, and her family and master were there. Once there was a crisis, Han Yueli would definitely not hesitate to take action. With her strength alone, it was impossible to contend against countless experts of the Daluo star domain. Chu Fengmian had to go there as soon as possible. Luo Shi also nodded. She was also a person of the 9 regions, and she could not sit still when such a big event happened. Let's go. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed and walked out of the palace. At the same time, a jade talisman appeared in his hand and flew out, telling Green Dream and the others that he had left the sacred land. Brother Chu? Junior sister Luo Shi? Chu Fengmian and Luo Shi had just arrived outside the palace when they saw the 5 spirits, Sek's holy son, and a group of people. The appearance of the lightning tribulation this time was something that they could feel. Now that they had gathered here, they wanted to see who had broken through. Junior sister Luo Shi, you broke through? Mu Lin glanced at Luo Shi, his eyes filled with shock. Didn't you just step into the 7 tribulations Emperor Gu? 2 months ago, Luo Shi had broken through to the 7 tribulations Emperor Gu's realm. Now, she had broken through again. One had to know that for Emperor Gu, he might not even be able to stabilize his realm in 2 months. Such a fast speed was simply unimaginable. That's right, I obtained a primordial emperor pill. Borrowing the medicinal energy of the primordial emperor pill, I broke through in one go. Luo Shi said, Senior brothers, I plan to leave the Holy Land and go to the 9 regions. Leave the 9 regions? Hearing this, the faces of Mu Lin and the other holy sons of the 5 spirits sect changed. In particular, Mu Lin frowned and said, Junior sister Luo Shi, you want to leave the Holy Land and go to the 9 regions? The 9 regions are an extremely dangerous place. You probably don't know that the news of the 9 regions has spread out in the past few days. This time, it's not just the 4 major forces that know about this news. Almost the entire Daluo star domain knows about this news. Moreover, it's said that the neighboring star domains also know about this news. Countless experts plan to go to the 9 regions. Even the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu is going there personally. I'm afraid that your trip this time will be extremely dangerous. It's okay. Wealth comes from danger. This time, the more experts that go to the 9 regions, the greater the opportunity. I will go with Luo Shi, Chu Fengmian said. He still did not intend to reveal his secret as a member of the 9 regions. He only acted as a warrior who wanted to go to the 9 regions to search for treasures. This time, when the 9 regions were discovered, many holy sons of the Holy Land had already gone to the 9 regions for the treasures of the 9 regions. Chu Fengmian also planned to go to search for treasures, so it was not surprising. It's much safer with Brother Chu accompanying us. Mu Lin nodded when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. Although Chu Fengmian was only at the quasi-emperor realm, they did not dare to underestimate his strength. At least, from how easily Chu Fengmian defeated Elder Wang and young Master Lin Lai. Even if all of them worked together, they might not be a match for Chu Fengmian. Brother Chu, you have to be careful. Many of the holy sons of the Sacred Academy sect and 6 Ultimates sect have also gone to the 9 regions. Mu Lin suddenly reminded him. He also knew Chu Fengmian's identity as a disciple of the Holy Dragon sect. Now, the feud between the Holy Dragon sect, the Sacred Academy sect, and the Six Ultimates sect was known to everyone. It was said that the Sacred Academy sect had even offered a shocking reward internally. Anyone who could kill Chu Fengmian would be able to obtain a large amount of benefit. Because of this, some people already knew that Chu Fengmian had come to the Five Spirits Hall. There were already many holy sons waiting outside the Five Spirits Hall. They planned to kill Chu Fengmian and obtain the shocking reward. Killing a holy son was indeed a big deal. However, if it was under the protection of the Sacred Academy sect, they would at most receive some punishment. This punishment was not even worth mentioning when compared to the heaven-shaking rewards that were offered. Many thanks. Chu Fengmian also understood the meaning of Mu Lin's reminder. He nodded and looked at Luo Shi. Let's go. Whoosh. 2 streaks of light immediately flew out of the Five Spirits Hall. At the same time, in another incomparably huge palace in the sacred grounds, the words Sacred Academy were written on the palace. It was the palace of the Sacred Academy sect, one of the 4 sections. Inside the palace, a few figures were seated and chatting. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. I didn't expect Chu Fengmian to come to the sacred grounds and go to the Five Spirits Hall. He even announced that Luo Shi is his cultivation companion. One of the holy sons of the Sacred Academy sect sat on a chair and looked in the direction of the Five Spirits Hall. He said coldly, Luo Shi is the woman designated by the young sect master. This guy is crazy. How dare he compete with the young sect master? This kid is a madman to begin with. Only this kid would do something like destroying the law enforcement hall. The other holy son of the Saint Academy sect said with a contemptuous smile. Chapter 1456. This brat is indeed a madman and can't be considered a match for the young sect master. However, if he gets too close to Luo Shi, it will affect the young sect master's plan. Another Sacred Academy sect disciple suddenly spoke up. The young sect master wants to condense the bloodline of 10,000 races. Luo Shi's bloodline cannot be missing. Although this brat is a madman, he's not easy to deal with. The Sacred Academy sect holy son who spoke first spoke coldly. This person can defeat Great Elder Heichen. I'm afraid his strength is not something we can deal with. Now that the young sect master has gone to the 9 territories to compete for the rumored extreme immortal artifact fragment, I'm afraid we are no match for this brat. It doesn't matter. If we want to kill this brat, we don't have to do it ourselves. I've already contacted Little Emperor Yi and asked him to kill this brat. A saint of the Saint Academy sect said coldly. Little Emperor Yi? The price to pay to invite Little Emperor Yi is not small. Is this person really willing to offend the Sacred Dragon sect? Hearing this, the other Sacred Academy sect holy sons were stunned. That's right. Little Emperor Yi has long wanted to kill this brat. Little Emperor Yi wants to cultivate a type of sword art. This brat's supreme sword chi is exactly what Little Emperor Yi needs. So I took the opportunity to ask Little Emperor Yi to take action. The Sacred Dragon sect holy son spoke coldly. As long as we kill this brat, Luo Shi won't be able to do anything. Suddenly, 2 streaks of light flew out from the Five Spirits Hall. It's that brat and Luo Shi. I'm going to inform Little Emperor Yi to take action. When the Sacred Academy sect holy son saw this scene, a jade talisman in his hand suddenly flickered. Then, the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. Little Emperor Yi is ready to take action. As long as these 2 dare to leave the Holy Land, Little Emperor Yi will take action. With Little Emperor Yi taking action, no matter how strong Chu Fengmian is, he won't have a chance to escape. When the other Sacred Academy sect holy sons heard this, they all laughed. After all, Little Emperor Yi was a genius who had received a strength inheritance. Even if he couldn't step into the heaven realm in the future, and was looked down upon by many people, in the Emperor realm, with his half-step Emperor martial Dao, he was almost invincible. In the sacred land, not many people dared to make an enemy of little Yi Emperor. The group of saints of the Saint Academy sect all looked in the direction of Chu Fengmian's escape light. After leaving the Five Spirits Hall, Chu Fengmian and Luo Shi did not slow down in the slightest as they flew out of the Holy Land. Since they were going to the 9 regions, the first thing they had to do was leave the sacred land. Chu Fengmian is out. He's the one who made the Sacred Academy put a bounty worth more than 100 heaven-grade spiritual weapons, hundreds of divine pills, and even a few rare heavenly miraculous artifacts to kill. The Sacred Academy sect is willing to pay such a huge price for a mere quasi-emperor? This brat is the Holy Dragon sect's holy son after all. I'm afraid he won't be easy to deal with. With so many of us joining forces, why should we be afraid of a puny boundary emperor? The moment they saw Chu Fengmian's escape light appear, the saints who were squatting outside the Five Spirits Hall exchanged glances with one another. Their eyes were filled with greed. Let's chase after him. We can't do anything in the Holy Land. Otherwise, we'll be violating the rules of the Holy Land. But if we kill him outside, no one will know who did it. We'll make our move once he leaves the Holy Land. Whoosh! More than a dozen escape lights chased in the direction of Chu Fengmian's escape light. There are so many saints? Luo Shi looked at the countless escape lights behind her and frowned. Chu Fengmian and Luo Shi flew all the way. Luo Shi had already noticed that at least a dozen saints were chasing after them. Many of these saints were not from the Six Ultimates sect or the Sacred Academy sect, but their current purpose was self-evident. The Sacred Academy sect is really generous. 100 heaven-grade spiritual weapons, thousands of divine pills, and many heavenly miraculous artifacts. No wonder these saints are so crazy. What a good move to kill with a borrowed knife. Chu Fengmian's eyes were extremely cold. The conversation between the saints could not be hidden from Chu Fengmian's spiritual consciousness. Everything was heard by Chu Fengmian. Humans die for wealth and birds die for food. For these saints, many of them originally disliked Chu Fengmian and wanted to teach him a lesson. But now, the Sacred Academy sect had offered a bounty. There were many people who wanted to kill Chu Fengmian and had taken the bounty. Now that Chu Fengmian had shown his strength, the Sacred Academy sect was unwilling to fight with Chu Fengmian head-on. But they could kill with a borrowed knife and make all the saints in the sacred ground enemies with Chu Fengmian. With such a huge bounty, even the saints who had no enmity with Chu Fengmian would be greedy and want to kill Chu Fengmian. This move was ruthless. If these saints joined forces, it would be very troublesome for Chu Fengmian to deal with them. If they were in the sacred ground, these saints would not dare to deal with Chu Fengmian openly. But now that Chu Fengmian wanted to return to the 9 regions, he had to leave the sacred ground first. Once he left the sacred ground, these saints would no longer have any scruples. What should we do? Luo Shi looked at Chu Fengmian and asked. Given their strength, they might not necessarily be afraid of these chosens. However, these chosens were indeed troublesome. Moreover, these saints had the backing of all the experts in the entire Holy Dragon Secret Dimension. Those who could become saints in the Holy Dragon Secret Dimension all had backers. If they killed all these saints, it might cause even more trouble. Once we leave the sacred ground, we'll kill them all. Chu Fengmian's eyes were extremely cold. Now, he no longer had any scruples. Even if Chu Fengmian did not kill anyone now, these saints would not let him go. Moreover, in a few months, the Law Enforcement Hall's Emperor Gu would come out of seclusion. At that time, Chu Fengmian would face the pursuit of the real 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. There was no time to hesitate now. Chu Fengmian would kill anyone who dared to make an enemy out of him. Leave the sacred ground. Chu Fengmian looked at the saints chasing behind him, murderous intent surging in his eyes. But in the sacred ground, no one dared to kill. After all, the big shots in the Holy Dragon Secret Dimension all cultivated in the sacred ground. However, as long as they left the Holy Land, the rule of not allowing fellow disciples to kill each other would be broken. Almost all the experts who had reached the level of a saint had the means to kill without leaving a trace. Even if the big shots were to investigate, no one would know. Whoosh! Chu Fengmian and Luo Shi's escape light was extremely fast. In a few seconds, they had passed through countless restrictive arrays and left the sacred ground. A starry sky appeared in front of Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian and Luo Shi's escape light rushed into the starry sky. That kid left the sacred ground. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.